3, 2, 1.
Light them up.
I'm Paul.
This is Buck.
This is the Paul and Buck Show.
Hey, the big Buckin deal. Hear us. Download the latest app at paulandbuckshow.podbean.com.
Okay, rock and roll. Okay, guys, we're back. Another episode. Today is Tuesday, the 6th of December. Okay.
It's December. We're
So,
close to Christmas. I'm waiting.
We got some guests here today. Paul, I'm going to let you go ahead and roll with it. We got some.
Yeah, it's a good one. We have definitely a good one. We have another south of the river
South of the river.
group. Buddies of mine from, I drug them out from South Austin to come out here. And it's going to be great. So we've got Chris and Bryan. Come on in, man. Let us know. Talk to us. Who are you? Give us your name and your last name.
Go ahead.
Bryan Kerley from South Austin, born in Austin, raised in Austin, raised down Buda, went to Hayes High School, enjoyed it.
And you've got your little brother here with you?
I got my older brother.
Older brother.
Got my younger brother Chris here with me.
Awesome.
Alright, I'm Chris Kerley. Born and raised in Buda, went to Hayes till freshman high school, then we moved to Madison, Virginia, finished up high school up there.
Really?
It sucked.
Oh, wow.
Came back in 88, maybe it was.
You went to school, you went to Chassis?
Yeah, I went to chassis school, front alignment school, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. You came back out here and this is where, pretty much where I met you.
Yeah,
Street
that's-
racing.
Yep.
So that's where I know them from the street racing days.
Six and Waterloo.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, well, let's start them off, man. High school days, what do you
Yeah,
guys?
so let's go. So you guys originally from here, you guys moved out of state, came back.
No,
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. You're I'm assuming you're already okay. So let's go from the beginning. What got you guys into the automotive world, into the racing world?
It's kind of a strange story.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mama.
Well, our family really never had much to do with racing. I will say, preface this by saying that my mom did race at Little River in
Right.
1957.
Nice.
She, apparently Uncle Joe had some race, and Uncle Joe was a big old boy. And so he's one of the Woods also. And
Okay.
instead of him getting in there, he needed to win this race, so I put my little mother in there, and she raced for him at Little River. I don't know the outcome. I think she won. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to have pictures of that if anybody's got any,
Oh,
but
wow.
that'll never transpire because Grandma would have killed her if she'd have found out.
And I don't know what I'm looking for, because
Yeah.
So,
I met your mom's great
Do
lady.
you know the description of that?
It was a 50 Mercury,
So color.
probably black. I'm
Black.
not sure, but probably black.
All photos are black and white back
Yeah,
then.
both
so-
black and white, and there was a bunch of Mercs
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, the marks everywhere probably.
So yeah, with the racing scene, we didn't know anything about racing growing up. All the way through high school, I was in athletics. I spent from 8 in the morning until 9 at night at school with athletics.
Right.
Graduated from high school, and of all things, the way I got into drag racing was church.
Church?
Yeah, the darndest
Is
thing.
there a class?
No,
Something?
I went to church. We went to Manchac Baptist Church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we went in there, and I'm one of those guys that don't like sitting in the front pew. So I was back in the back, the very, very, very back. And I was sitting next to this blonde-haired dude. We got to talking. Come to find out, it was David Booker.
Oh, great.
In church. In church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, be away,
He goes,
man.
he saw me
Wow.
pulled up my
Yeah.
70 Monte Carlo, two-tone green 70 Monte Carlo. Andy used to call it the Martian Monte Carlo. And he says, that's a nice car you got out there. You do any kind of racing or anything? And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He says, you ever drag race? What is drag racing?
Yeah.
He says, well, I'll tell you what, come out with me next Saturday night and I'll show you what drag racing's about.
Is that right?
So I went out that next Saturday night and been hooked ever since.
Oh.
So that was right out of high
So
school.
Booker ruined you.
Booker's the one that got me into this. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he introduced him to Mr. Green.
Yeah, then
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Green and then Gary, and I got in with all the
Yeah.
group and South Austin group.
So Buck, if you watch that video where it's on
Yeah.
fire,
Yeah.
that's the guy
That Booker, that one that.
No, that's not Booker.
Gary.
That's
Gary.
Gary.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the little
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
But it had his car there.
Yeah, my
Oh,
car
well,
there.
it's on, right?
Well, the only thing that was left was two bolts.
That's good.
Yeah, the center part. The
You
car
got
body was
no
gone.
backfire.
And by the way, those videos belong to Booker too. It's all Booker.
Yes.
Yeah. we won't be able to get him on here.
So-
he's-
So yeah, it was good.
Stuck.
We got stuck into the drag race scene then. That was back when we used to race when they were building the Loop 360 bridge. We would race out there
Yeah.
by St. Stephen's School Road.
Kevin Smith took a photo, remember that photo?
Yeah.
That might be the reason why he took a photo there, because I raced there.
We raced there, and my first race was against Ray Cedar.
I was there.
That was cool. I beat him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what cars were these? Just to enlighten everybody who's on.
Well, mine was a 70 Monte Carlo.
Right.
I bought it in, oh my gosh, 1979, I think it is, from a guy that passed away. So I got it from his sister and his dad off of Blue Bonnet Road off of South Lamar.
Okay.
I bought it for $700.
It's, I mean,
Two-tone green 70 Monte Carlo.
that price was
Only
normal
one-
up until a few years ago, right? I mean, the
I'm
price,
sorry?
I said that price was normal up until about a few years ago, right?
For Marnie's,
Exactly.
20,000.
Yeah. So that's where I got into the car scene. Like I said, I've been hooked on that ever since, and it's just been fun.
So you knew Greg pretty well, Greg, right? Because that's gonna.
I knew Greg.
Because that's gonna. He runs right now, so we bring him on all the time because he's always
Yeah.
doing racing.
Yeah.
You know, he's part of the crew back in the day, even up into the 90s. So did you ever do races with him, or you just watched him? What was
No,
going on?
Greg was a little bit of a
Did Booker race
level
against
above
him?
us.
Yeah.
Booker was in his level. I wasn't. We were in the mediocre level.
Okay.
He stayed, with us.
What they call today the slow class.
The slow class. We were the 13-second, 12-second cars back in the
Yeah.
early 80s.
Yeah.
That wasn't too bad.
That was good.
Yeah, that wasn't
really
too bad
good.
back then.
Yeah,
Today
that was
it's
really
slow.
good.
Back then it was pretty darn good.
That was really good.
So, the races out there at St. Stephen's School Road off Loop 360 were a blast. That was fun.
Yeah.
And of course,
Decker, right.
every place else we could find. I mean, right here in Pflugerville, where Conley High School is, we used to race there on the access road.
See, he's got a few more pads
Yeah.
that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, there was one in Pflugerville that I talked about before. It was right off 68 where that Manville Tower is at. There's homes down in that, but that was a long.
Talking about Austin Raceway Park.
No. That was right off right near Pflugerville. Right near Pflugerville, right before you get to Howard. There was a road there. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, this was like in the 80s or 90s. But so you guys, from always thought there's always some new roads that come.
Yeah.
There was behind Cavender's. There was.
Calhoun.
Callahan. Yeah, that was pretty much normal when I knew him well. Actually, he tried to freaking tell me he had 305 in that car. It's not true.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
I apologize,
buddy.
man.
It's okay.
I have been known to lie once or twice, and that's why I painted those AFR heads.
Exactly.
Yeah, black.
Yeah.
All the guys at work are going, "Why are you painting those pretty heads?" I said, "I don't want anybody knowing what they are."
Oh,
I remember those
right.
like, man, those cast down here sure are smooth.
Sure are smooth. That intake manifold, it looks familiar, but it doesn't say Little Rock on there nowhere.
So what are some of the? I had the Matt. He comes there. He's considered Matt's his guy until somebody throws him off
Right.
so he asked me. He goes, man, because he's from South Austin. He goes, where'd you guys used to run at? And I can probably name like 3, 4 common ones that we would go to.
We have raced downtown Buda before.
Really?
Downtown Buda.
Buda.
Yeah, Tracy Green had a race against Pat Owens. Pat Owens had El Camino. And downtown Buda, we started at Gin
Yeah.
and raced north downtown Buda
Wow.
in front of the grocery store one
Try
night.
doing that today.
Yeah, you can't do that today.
Yeah.
We raced at,
Yeah.
where they extended
Support.
1626 to 2770, which is where it goes to high school. We raced there before.
Wow.
We raced out there in Creedmoor.
Creedmoor, I went there once.
I watched Lee Dykes race
Yeah.
against David Wilter.
And
And
Hillbilly. So they finally did make a race, because I know the story was,
They did.
he was observing his 57, he wanted to know what all he wanted. His car was really quick. And so tell me, before we get into it, tell me, how did that race go? I mean, what was going on? What was he driving? And
Lee was driving the pinkish color Chevy 2 that he had. That he ended up selling to, was it Fishman? He sold it to?
I don't know that
It was
guy.
one of those guys.
That made some.
Yeah, and, but he raced against Booker and Booker's 57.
yeah.
Lee beat him, but it was only by about a half a car. It was real close race. It was like running on marbles out there, so nobody's getting any traction.
But wasn't that the yellow Chevy too that Lee
Oh, you're right, I think it was a yellow.
It was
Chevy.
yellow.
It was yellow.
Yeah, the yellow,
It was
now that I do remember.
I
That thing was
apologize, it was
nasty.
a yellow. Yes.
Okay, so you raced him in that, and well, Booker's car hasn't changed much since then, but.
No, it's still black.
Wow.
It was blue when he first bought it.
Yeah, blue,
And
yeah.
he had it painted, some color. It's got the metallic in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, you can
not
see it.
black.
So he was pretty quick back then, and then he didn't come out for a long time, but you guys became some of there is an actual legit slow class today, and a stick shift class. You guys were on the low end, pretty much almost in the fast car
We were
class.
pretty fast,
Yeah,
especially.
yours was, but you kept street tires on your car. Drag rails didn't exist back then on the street.
It depends on if you can seven quarters.
Mercury, M&H and Mercury.
The Mercury.
They look like street tires to me, man.
Yeah. No, that was the thing back then. There are basically a hard sidewall street tire.
Mhm. Yep.
M&H and Mercury, man, that was the thing everybody ran at the track, you know,
Yep.
before like the cheater six came out.
Yeah.
That 383 was something else that I built on that thing. That was a stock bottom end pretty much. I took a 400 crankshaft and I worked at Austin Carburetor Clinic. I was manager there for a while, and in my spare time I took that crankshaft out in the parking lot with a die grinder, just cutting those counterweights off.
Counterweights
Just
off,
cutting the
yeah.
counterweights on people look at me going, what do you, I got probably 17 hours cutting into this crankshaft and polishing it up
Right.
with a die grinder. And then took it to David Walver
Mhm.
at HD Machine, and he tested, he bounced it for me and everything. He said it was one of the lightest reciprocating assemblies he'd ever done. He
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
I got
that
lucky.
throw down, yeah.
I got lucky and got it right, and that engine ran very, very, very well.
Yeah, and that
Good
was,
RPM.
that's how I do you for the longest with the Monte Carlo, and you just
And
get that
the
on
Nova.
to
And
which one?
Nova.
The green one or the white one? Was it blue or green one? I never saw it.
Well, depends on which one you're talking about. Talking about my 67 Chevy T.
Oh, no, I never saw any of those cars, so.
67 Chevy T,
Yeah.
a little small block in it.
I have photos, yeah.
And then it was blue. First it started off, I got a divorce, so I had to leave town for a while, just to get my head back on. So I moved to Virginia for 9 months,
Yeah.
which was a mistake, and came right back. But while I was there, Chris here was driving around down by one of the places that crushes cars. And he came home and he goes, Brian, you gotta come down here and take a look at this car.
Down Chevy 2.
He says it's a 1973 Super Sport Nova that they're about to crush. I said, no, you can't crush a Super Sport.
Yeah.
I said, what's wrong with it? He said, well, somebody stole the drive shaft out of it and the shifter out of it, and when they cut the exhaust and they cut like the emergency brake cable and stuff. So we went and looked at it, and the car was ugly. To be quite honest with you, somebody, military guy up there decided he wanted to flare the rear fenders out, so he pulled the lips out and then bondoed it, so it looked like Dumbo's ears looking from behind. It was really ugly,
Wow.
you know. But it was a cool car because it was a manual transmission. It had the console gauges
Mhm.
down the console shifter, bucket seats, all the stuff. It was.
Yeah.
It was all the double throw, triple whippet stuff you could get
And
in
I can't factory
1973.
tack in it.
Yeah, the factory
Okay,
tack and all that
that's
was
it,
in
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So I got it for $500.
Okay.
So put all the stuff together. He and I changed the transmission out from a manual to an automatic in
Well,
24-degree weather with the wind blowing like 30 miles an hour. It was cold.
Well, after I broke it.
Yeah, after he broke it, he did. We drove it from Dumfries to Manassas in second gear, which is like a 30-mile drive.
And I'm behind him, it's here, clank,
Clank, clank, clank, all
So
the
they're
way.
going, I hope he makes it.
Yeah. So that's where the 74 Nova
That one.
came about,
Yeah.
because I was coming to work one day in the 73 in front of the IRS at Ben White, and I rear-ended a car there.
Oh,
Hit somebody that didn't merge. They stopped on the entrance, and I hit them. They ended up underneath the Woodward Bridge there.
Oh, Woodward.
yeah.
Then I hit
okay.
them off until the light pole. They spun and ended up way down underneath the bridge. I hit them hard.
Yeah.
So I totaled the car out. So we drove around and found another 74 Nova at Cimarron Park.
You put another-
Yeah, put another one.
It was a Austin police officer's house. So I asked his wife, I said, would he be interested in selling the car? She said, no, he wants the engine out of it. I said, well, I don't want the
Yeah,
engine. I just want the car.
The car.
She said, well, he might be interested in doing that. So we did negotiate, and I bought the car for $250.
Yes.
So they towed it out to Elroy, someplace out there in Elroy. There's a wooden shop on the right hand headed
Yeah.
east. And they pulled the engine out, and then my dad and I towed it by chain to their house out here. And then a friend of ours let us borrow his shop. So we put the 73 on jack stands here and the 74 on jack stands here. Put everything from the 73 into the 74, then put a roll bar in the 74. Gutted it out. He did a fabulous job of taking that deck out of the back, getting
Yeah.
all the brackets out of it, fiberglass around the roll bar. That car looked good. when we
Yeah.
got done with it. And that's the one that I raced Corey with that one night.
Oh,
With
it
the
did?
78 on it.
Yeah.
It had
Wow.
78 series bias-ply tires with white walls on it.
Yes.
White wall.
And we went to, we
Bye,
went to,
bye.
Hey, at least you can see the
Bye.
tire spinning.
exactly. So we went out to 6th Street that
Yeah.
one night, hanging out there where the post office is now.
Oh.
And I got there early so nobody heard me drive up because I had a 292 Cam and this little
Yeah.
355 I had. It's pretty lumpy.
Yeah.
So I parked underneath this light pole and everybody got there and they figured out what races they wanted to go to race. And I looked at Corey and said, hey, you got racing? No, I don't have racing. I said, would you mind racing me just so I can see where I'm at? I just want to see where the car is
Yeah.
at, you know? Sure. You know, at first, you know, what do you got? I said, I got that old Nova sitting on you kind of looks. Yeah, I'll race that. All right, I'll meet you out there. He said, I knew there was something wrong when you started it up. We got out there, Tracy Green flagged us off. I jumped him by a car out of the hole, and that's the way we finished. I beat him
Oh, wow.
with those 78 series tires in Decker Lane. That thing hooked. I don't know how it hooked, but it did.
Really?
That car just hooked
I
on
think
dirt road.
it's the master man here.
Now, were you running nitrous on that
No,
little car?
that was motor.
Motor. So he was running motor.
Motor. Yeah, I think he had the big block in the Chevelle.
Oh, okay. Because I know you had a previous Chevelle with
Yeah.
nitrous, and that's all you had was
No, that
nitrous.
car hooked up.
Yeah, they hooked and left. So when I came back to the starting line,
Yeah.
and the cop showed up. Like ants.
Take
Everybody
a
left, so I took off and went up to the church and took a ride there.
Yeah.
Well, there's Corey with his hood up.
No.
So I stopped and said, Corey, everything okay? Oh, yeah, everything's all right. You sure everything's all right? Yeah, well, why's your hood up? He said, I'm just trying to figure out how you beat me. I don't know how you beat me. I don't know why that car should have beat this car, but you beat me. I said, yeah, I did. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Hey, that's also one of the ways we met Tobar.
mhm.
We went out to race somebody, and y'all got on both sides, and Tobar was pulled up right in the middle of them.
We
Before
took
they
off.
got flagged it off, and he got just got the cutlass from it.
Yeah.
And Bryan in the other car took off, and Tobar came out the hole, and the nitrous and single tracked it all the way down.
Oh,
Is that right?
a quarter mile between the two of us. I'm like, okay. All right.
He didn't mention that in his
Yeah,
Yeah, he
conversation.
didn't quite mention that one, yeah. Yeah.
But we're all sitting on the side, and we're going, what is this guy doing getting in between the cars?
He was ready. He
took
wants
off
smack
with
him.
He's gonna womp at the end. That's what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
He always does
They
that.
pulled away from him.
Oh,
It is, it is what it
He
is.
white smoked them all the way down.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
smoked them all the way down. So,
So what year, like time frame, that's like that's in the eighties?
oh yeah.
Yeah, 80s.
That was
No,
early
no,
90s.
no, That's early 90s.
That was early
Okay,
nineties,
early
and
90s,
we were
okay.
at Sixth Street.
Yeah,
there.
okay, I got you, okay, so that's kind of what,
yeah. I was spectating all
Right.
throughout those
Mhm.
right,
because I was in high school. We were in high school.
yeah.
These guys were the guys we'd go see.
Right, yeah, it's
And,
kind
you
of
know,
heard.
87, 89, we'd go see these guys, and we're like, damn, you know, when I get my license, I'm gonna be this dude. So I show up. I really don't know the scene very well. The Corey, a few of the top
But
contenders.
then we took you in.
And then he tells me he's got a 305. This guy tells me he's got a 4-cylinder. Come hang out with us, and you know
Yeah, I
that's.
got a
that's
little
the
push under my microphone.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why I'm
right.
like that way.
I need more gear in my shit. That's not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys were
You see, I got a 4-cylinder on one side.
flat 6.
Yeah.
No, but these guys were, you know, they took me in and they just like anybody else, man, they teach you the street.
Right.
But,
You hang out.
but I will say, in our crowd that we had,
Mhm.
nobody never argued, nobody ever fought.
Right.
We were out there having a good time,
Oh, yeah.
laughing.
That's when, yeah. it was
Anybody
fun.
called up, needed help, we were all there to
We were
help.
all there to help.
When Gary burned his car up
Oh,
at
yeah.
that time,
I was there on
decided-
vacation.
he decided he wanted to go to another meet. I don't know that it was called a Mustang meet at the time, but he said, man, I really want to go to this meet this next Saturday. This was like Sunday.
Yeah.
It's next Saturday, so we all got together and said, okay, well, we got to totally rewire this car, we got to paint the hood, we got to pull the engine, rebuild the engine, we got to do all this stuff to it, so we worked 24 hours on that thing.
And
Yeah.
I was there on vacation.
He was here on vacation, he got in there, did some metal work on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite impressive watching it go down.
Just
And
the
we
way,
made it.
yeah,
And we
just
made
wait,
it.
so that was 6 days basically, or 5 days basically.
We had it all done like in 4 days,
Yeah.
so we had just enough time to rest to go to the race on Saturday.
But he also tore the motor apart too, and when it was backfired, it bent the valve and everything, so he had to rework the motor too.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of work there, so that's what it calls about when you come together.
Yeah, it's family. Like I said, it's always family, and There's been a few times where we break somewhere and, you want us to go? Yeah, meet us at the spot, we'll be there, we're taking, we're gonna be there regardless. And, It happened once, I think, once a year in Monte Carlo. One time we were at the parking lot or something, and we were about to take off to go do some racing, and, I think it was, can't remember what it was, I don't know, just something going on. But anyway, everybody came to help you and got the car back.
Oh, that's when the transmission.
Was it the transmission? Something, right there in the parking lot, you were about to go and.
Yeah. And I had to get to work on Monday morning.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. Yeah, everybody drove the cars back then, they were,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was my only car. And,
That was the thing, like, that was your baby, right? Your toy and your baby.
but we used to piss everybody off with my go kart. Had 396 in it with, rally wheels on
Mhm.
Rallies.
it. But I would leave the car seats in the back.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, little baby.
That's
And
a
little
decoy.
Yeah, and I tell
exactly.
everybody, hey, you wanna run grandma's car? Come on.
They turned it on.
Gets weight transfer in the back, more weight back in the back, in the back seat.
One night I got mad at the car and I lost the race because it wasn't transferred. So I went home that night and Bryan came out, what are you doing? I said, I lost last night. I ain't losing tonight. He goes, what are you doing? Took care of ice grips too. Straps on there.
Is that how the shocks? Blew the seals out of the shock, it transfers now.
Hey, you gotta do stuff in the street that normally, that don't work on the track, but
Well, the
Yeah,
car
you gotta
still
make
don't
it.
work.
It works, right?
that car stayed like that for about 10 years. And it was hard to kick his
Talk
ass.
about transfer, the front end came up now.
That's what you gotta do, man.
The car would drive
start
up. Yeah.
I
it would
would
drive
start
up.
up, the whole car lift up.
It's actually just, but when it launches, right?
Oh man, when it launched,
Squats.
he just burn right into the car, would go down, come
Yeah.
back up. But when you would take off, the car would just stay, perfect,
Yeah,
just
transfer,
transferring.
yeah,
Just
transfer.
Today we call it, the 10-foot shocks, struts.
Yeah.
Wait, a mile travel.
That's what the no prep and the street guys do. They got struts now that they extend like crazy, so it helps it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's,
Yep.
you're ahead of the game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. But Bryan come out, what are you doing?
Okay.
We're making our own shocks.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody said that they wanted some 90-10s. I
Yeah.
got 90-90s.
Yeah, that was the thing where you had the competition engineering or something
That's
like
what I
that. You
had.
had the,
Competition.
those are, yeah, that's.
That was the only
you
shot
had-
that-
You had to take the shock off.
Yep.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that was, we all had that, man, them things didn't last, I think I went through like 3 or 4 sets back in the day, they should blow out, pop.
Oh really? I never
Yeah.
checked mine, so I guess mine blew out.
I would know with mine, cause the car would be like leaning on
Oh,
one
really?
side or something,
Mhm.
like, man, there's a shock now.
Mhm.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what everybody ran, so nowadays, the shock and the technology,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy now, right?
We interviewed Santa, cause he's one of those that invented those shocks today, and man, it would have been fun to have those
Yeah.
kind of shocks back
It
then.
just
I couldn't afford them back
No,
then.
Yeah.
today it was an AutoZone special, and you hope it was the cheapest, shittiest crap,
Yeah.
and you hope it has a
Yeah.
soft pull and.
That engine that he had in that
Yeah.
69 Camaro that he had, we put together with about $250.
Wow.
50.
Is that right?
50, when I get
We
the
didn't have any
200.
money, we didn't have no money to put this
Yeah,
stuff together.
but it ran low 13.
It ran low 13s and quarter mile.
Yeah, just running around.
Yeah, so.
This shop, Petition 400.
That was the thing back in the day, I talked about it, like, back when, even when like I started, like in the 90s, you used to go to a salvage yard, you go
Yeah.
on the block there,
Yeah.
or something, or even like a 4 9-inch chunk,
Yeah.
you can buy a whole rear end for like 25, 50
Well,
bucks or something, right?
Well, my first intake manifold on my Monte Carlo, we decided it was a 2-barrel car when I got it. So Butcher and I said, hey, we gotta get the performance out of this thing. We need a 4-barrel. So we went over to Newell Salvage and got an intake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It cost me $2.30
Damn.
for an intake manifold. We climbed all over that
That
metal
stack
pile
of
until we
stack of
finally
stuff.
found a small block intake.
Is that right?
Wow.
Yeah.
But then I remember when
Yeah.
y'all did all that too, y'all went over to Booker's work. I actually helped y'all take the motor out. And then all of a sudden, that night, I thought, I can't remember, Lisa came down. Sitting at the house, all of a sudden, we hear him coming. Open it off.
It's running.
Yep.
It's running.
Open exhaust.
Going good. Yeah, that's how you would drive your car to the exhaust shop.
I drive to the exhaust shop.
Yeah,
I went to
okay.
B&B Muffler over there off of South Lamar to get
Yeah.
it done. I was going to Southwest School Electronics
Yeah.
there off of Westgate.
Yeah.
So I went over to B&B to go get the exhaust put on, because my mom was gonna pay for it with a check, and I was gonna give her whatever the
Yeah.
money was. So she said, hey, just go take a check. So I went over and took a check. They wouldn't take the check because I didn't have a driver's license. So I had to drive uncapped over there to William Cannon and Congress, get her driver's license, then drive it back to B&B, and I'm passing cops in South Austin going, oh, I'm gonna get arrested today. Yeah, I'm going to jail today. It
Yeah.
wasn't that bad though. People do it all the time now, but back then it was, I was scared.
Yeah, well, back then it wasn't quite as, the cops were kind of like, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even.
Well, as long as you didn't do nothing.
Yeah, that's
stupid.
stupid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key, right?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Mhm.
So-
That's so funny, man, because yeah, the exhaust back when, there was only a certain handful of people. There was a place on, it was Muffin Muffler. You remember?
Muffin
Muffin
Yeah,
Muffler.
they were the only ones, yeah, on Burner Road, they were the
Yeah.
only ones that did like good mandrel, big
Mhm.
3-inch.
Mhm.
And I used to go get turned down from all of them.
Mhm.
Really? Yeah, I remember some
Nobody,
shops.
like,
Nobody would do
3-inch,
it.
you got a mandrel,
Yeah.
you 2.5, like, nah, I can't see, I gotta deal with somebody else, right?
Litters was the one that did the
Litters,
3-inch
yeah.
manual bent, which was off of 183 behind Bill Mundy Pontiac,
Yeah.
back over
Yeah.
there.
I remember I got irritated, man. Like, I'm like, man, do you really not know just not how to bend 3-inch pipe? They're like, no, let me show you why we can't do it. And they showed me this freaking machine, man, that was just clapped.
man.
And the turns would get so stupid. He's like, this is why we can't do a 3-inch. And I'm like, oh, so disappointed, man.
It's the dies. Some people do those,
Yeah.
like collapse it, clink it, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's not.
Well, I went-
You don't need to.
So I was working at AMD, right? And
Yeah.
these guys, you know how they do the, like the banks, you know how they have the tubing?
Mhm.
And it has to be real, I mean, seamless.
Perfect, yeah.
I mean,
Seamless,
expensive
yeah.
tubing. I didn't know this. Well, I'm passing by and they're building the stuff inside. It's gotta be, clean environment. There's all these things, and I saw there was this jig, man, that, it would just freaking
That's what it was.
weld, they'll just kind of butt the pipe and it was just,
Seamless.
I'm like, wow, that's nice. And I passed by for like at least 2-3 weeks, man. I kept like, damn, I really need that stuff. And finally, I stopped on. I said, hey, you guys gonna use any of that stuff on the side? He's like, no, I have had it, man. I grabbed as much of those little turns they had, and I took it to the mufflers right down Lamar. What was it again?
B&B.
B&B, yeah.
B&B.
And I said, hey, I got the parts that'll go over the axle. You think it? And they looked at me like, where'd you get this? I said, well, it actually belongs to those feed tubes, man, at banks and stuff. But anyway, that's where I got it, because nobody would do those dumb freaking So anyway, that was the way you did. So another thing I was gonna ask you guys, because you were the nitrous guys, so if anybody wanted nitrous, you guys definitely had it set up. Booker, he even had stealth setups in his car.
Yeah, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy.
Gary too, yeah.
Well, I mean, all you guys. I mean,
It was, you couldn't see it, you wouldn't find it if you wanted to.
right.
Or you hurt yourself if you
Did
do.
Tracy? Did he have like a 70 Chevelle?
60.
It's got 68, green 68 Chevelle.
You still have it.
We still got it.
Yeah, it's there.
That's when I okay. I was
Nice
just saying
car.
Tracy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought so.
But yes, what about the nitrous?
Oh, so
Yeah.
about what time did you guys come around with and say, you know what, man, I'm gonna just jump
Yeah.
on the bandwagon and get nitrous? What did you
As
do?
soon as I was in the business.
As soon as
Yeah,
you-
as soon as I got in, because Marvin Miller was the nitrous setup everybody was using
Yeah.
until right about the time I got in to the drag racing scene.
Yeah.
Then NOS decided to sell locally at South Austin Auto Supply.
Okay.
And Gary or Booker, one of the two of them, had one of the first NOS systems in Austin.
Yeah.
Another guy,
And you actually sent me a photo. It was a while back. I don't know if I've had one, but you sent me the photo of it's you, Gary. I don't know if it's you or not, but you guys are pointing at the nitrous kit.
I'm pointing at the nitrous in
Yeah.
my car.
No, that's his no.
That was my
That's the Nova,
Yeah,
okay.
that was my Nova.
So back then, man, what kind of power numbers do you think your motor would make, and then how much nitrous would you
You know what?
feed it?
Yeah.
I don't know and I don't care.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
No,
Didn't
no
care.
dyno. There was
Everybody
no
asked you dynos. I don't dyno myself.
Nobody was dynoing nothing.
Yeah,
back
I
then.
got a butometer is what I
No
had.
G-tape.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, we still don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one I've ever dynoed was my 418 LS3 I put in the Monte Carlo. The only reason I did that was
Yeah.
to tune it on the dyno.
And that's the same car you've had since then?
I bought a brand new
Oh,
Capra
okay.
Chevrolet at 5th and Lamar. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, but you had a pill size for the nitrous, so you knew approximately how much you
It
were.
was 150 shots is what I put in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was pretty much.
So what it was putting on before that, I don't know, but it had 150 shots.
That was pretty much the normal
But the-
shot?
But the Monte Carlo never got the nitrous. The 85 never got the nitrous.
Oh, really?
The only one that never got the nitrous was the Chevy 2.
Yeah.
And the 70 Monte Carlo had it on for a while.
Yeah.
And then the 73, 74 Novas.
Look, no.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
car had a 100 shot.
Yeah.
Just
Now,
under shot?
now the
Mine
70
did.
Monte Carlo we got right now, it's got 150 shot Zex nitrous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about that Monte Carlo. So this is moving on, just, you know, it's been some years, you know, since you got that Monte Carlo. So tell me a little bit about that Monte Carlo. Obviously, it's to bring back the.
Well, see, the worst thing is that it's not even necessarily my Monte Carlo, it's Eric's Monte Carlo.
Okay,
He bought the Monte Carlo 26 years ago from a guy in Kyle, I think it was, like 25, 26 years ago.
yeah,
I got a divorce and I had nothing.
yeah.
The 85, I had given it to my son to drive to high school,
Mhm.
so he was driving it all over the place and tearing up Pflugerville and the thing.
Yeah.
And so I had nothing, and I needed something.
And the car was sitting at my house.
And
Yeah.
so I looked at Eric and said, hey, what are you gonna do with that 70 Monte Carlo? He says, I don't know, why? I said, because my buddy Roy just called me and he's got a plumbing truck out there behind his house in
Yeah.
Elgin. And I went and looked at it, it's got a 454 in it.
Yeah.
And he asked if I wanted the truck. I don't want the truck, I want that turbo 400 and that 454 that's in the truck.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went and pulled it out with the engine hoist in the field.
That
And
was
it's that
fun.
sandy field
Yeah.
out there, but yeah, that was something else.
That cherry picker was
It
sinking.
cherry picked sinking in. We
Yeah.
took boards out there so it wouldn't sink too far, but yeah, we pulled all that out of that plumbing truck out there in the field. The only thing that was left on the engine that we ended up using basically was just the block. All the other stuff we didn't use. We didn't use any of it.
Right.
So in the Turbo 400, we built it in the garage, very, very cold weather again.
Yeah.
But I did find it either.
He found on,
And
I
I
had
had
a
a
transmission right down there.
underneath of it. He's only building a motor. I'll
Yeah,
never do
yeah.
the transmission, take
Now
the
you guys-
jacket off.
Excuse me. Now you guys, again, another thing that was really cool about you guys, thing, y'all built everything yourselves.
Yeah.
You-
I think I'll do all the work.
Yeah, we do.
Besides some machining, unless you had access to machine shop.
No, yeah, the only thing I don't do is machine work.
Yeah.
I'll put cam bearings in and all that other stuff myself.
Yeah.
Cylinder head work, Tracy did
Cylinder
all your
head
head
work,
boarding,
Tracy, yeah, Tracy's my
Yeah.
cylinder head guy.
and you, the tranny, you.
We do the transmissions, I built the rear end in the 70 Monte Carlo, I rewired the whole Monte
Yeah.
Carlo, took the dash and fiberglassed it in, a
Yeah.
buddy of mine, Wes Schneider, fiberglassed it in for me, then I cut it all out and everything, and put all the gauge pods in there, looks really slick.
And that's been like that since you built all your cars.
Since I built it, yes.
Well, every
Yeah.
car you've done, it's always been all.
It's always been-
It's definitely between you, both of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because first off, we didn't have money to send.
There you go.
Send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I did take my car one time to a place on Manchac Road, and the guy really got me bad.
Yeah.
I was, summer job, didn't have any money, time and chain apparently went out on it.
Mhm.
He told me it was gonna be like $280 to fix it.
Yeah.
Called him like a couple of weeks later, it wasn't ready. Next thing you know, we're going into 6 weeks, it's finally ready. Okay, well, how much is the bill? It's like $660. I had to borrow money from my parents, get
Yeah.
the car out of the shop, and he never told me once about any of the extra charges on
Yeah.
this stuff. So I said, you know what, this will never happen again.
Good.
Right, so I knew about cars at the time, but I didn't know enough to do that at the time. But I learned real quick.
Right.
Next thing you know, we're doing cam squats and stuff like that ourselves, and I don't ever have to deal with the shop
Right.
again.
So you're, so while you're building that car, this is early on, so turbos isn't even a thing yet
Well,
on the
they're
street.
starting to
Very
get
few, very few.
So again, you built your traditional nitrous big block, and,
Actually, the small cars, I wouldn't do that.
no, what I'm talking about, your Monte Carlo.
Oh, the Monte Carlo,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
So
yes.
you did take it to the track, 'cause I mean, you did do some track
Yes.
racing and all that stuff on
Yeah.
the river.
Uh-huh.
But you go with your street mentality, you take your car out there and you got some, what do you run, 6 drag radials? When you
I had drag radials on.
Drag radials, okay.
Mhm.
And what it run, just,
Well, it's kind of a funny story there also.
Yeah.
We always do a couple of dry runs, you know,
Yeah.
about the nitrous
Right.
first, just
Yeah,
to
you
see
got
how
to.
the cars are handling, what's the track like that day and all this.
the tune.
So I made a pass and the car did okay. I'm thinking, what did it run, Chris? Mid-12s? Like 1230, 1250?
1260.
1260. Yeah, I had the Pro Comp heads on there at the time, which were junk.
Yeah.
But it ran like 1260s at the time. And then Mr. Manning gets in here and he is not merciful on the car
No.
whatsoever.
You gotta rip it open.
So I was sitting behind the car,
Yeah.
watching the back right side about me to Buck behind it, just watching to see how it launches. And when he launched, the back right bumper almost hit the track. The front left tire daylighted. It
Yeah.
came off without the nitrous on the side.
Without
And I'm like, wow, that was impressive. Well, let's try the nitrous now.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I get in the car and get out of the hole about 10 feet, 20 feet. That's the way we usually do. 'Cause, you know, we
Yeah.
suspension blow off it and try to
Yeah.
ride out of the hole. Got about 10 feet out and nailed the nitrous. Got going. This car's running real good, and all of a sudden, bam! Drive shaft breaks in half.
Yeah.
In half behind the drive shaft loop. So it's bam, 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 just beating the bottom of the car up. And I'm on the big end. And I'm just thinking at any time I'm gonna catapult over this guardrail. I'm gonna be over in the river, you know. So finally got the car stopped, and I put all the things together, put it on a trailer, took it home. Next day I'm looking at this drive shaft. I'm like, drive shafts don't break in the middle. What happened? This is a brand new drive shaft, performance drive shaft. Said, oh, 3-inch steel, round,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
drive shaft. I'm like, they just don't break in the middle. So I looked at it, I saw this little score mark.
Yeah.
So I climbed underneath the car and I looked.
It was from squatting.
It was a daggone seatbelt bolt.
Yeah.
Hit the drive shaft. When he got on it, it
Yeah.
twisted the car so
Yeah.
hard. There was about 1.5 inch gap between that bolt and the drive shaft,
Yeah.
yet it hit the drive
It just-
shaft. Because
Scored it just
scored it just enough to make it weak, and that was the weak point on the drive shaft, and that's where it broke. So I moved the seatbelts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have that problem anymore. But it got another drive shaft in it, and I never have used nitrous on it since because it doesn't get traction already with the big block.
Yeah.
It blows the tires off because I've already changed the AFR heads, a 950 QFT carburetor.
Yeah.
But also, we're afraid that the car will have a cage in it.
Yeah.
And I
Every
remember back in the 99 attack,
Yeah,
we
let
had
her
that
run you off.
cage.
Exactly.
Let her run you off.
Yeah.
But the last pass we made in the car went a 12-16.
1216 at 116 miles an hour, I think it was. Yeah.
So we was afraid to turn nitrous.
Yeah, what does that car weigh, do you think? Every bit of
Probably 32.
32?
Probably.
Oh,
I
he
think from
like
the
that.
factory. From the factory, I think it's 3,600 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not
exactly.
heavy.
Yeah.
And that big block hasn't got anything steel on it
That's
except the
aluminum.
block and the
Yeah.
crank. The rest of it's aluminum.
Well, I
There's-
know with my 72, with me in the car, full interior, I mean, a stock 396 weighed 36.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, this car ain't got hardly any.
So
It
you
didn't
got,
have.
you got aluminum heads, aluminum intake, you know, it's all.
You can stand in the engine compartment to work on. There's nothing there.
Wheel wells, all that. Okay.
And plus, it don't have air conditioner, nothing in
Yeah,
it.
nothing underneath the dash.
I mean,
So you shake with it, I mean, it's pretty respectable for a 3,300 pound car.
Mhm.
Street
car.
Yeah,
Street car, we drive it everywhere.
I like that.
And I was still telling myself, well, you can actually put it on the track and really like let it breathe, let it, you know. And but you haven't taken it back yet. You're more you put your other Monte Carlo back together. Your
Right.
original
Right.
LE5.
Right.
That's when you got an LS.
I put an LS 418, LS 3418 keep
Texas
in
Speed.
it.
Is it
Texas Speed block,
Yeah.
but I assembled it and all that stuff and put it together. It's got the PRC heads on it, comp cam.
Yeah.
It's got sheet metal intake.
How do you like it?
I like it, but I need to do some more work to it. I'm enjoying driving it too
Yeah.
much that I need to do more chassis work on it, stuff like that. I hadn't done it. I hadn't even got the thing aligned yet.
It's just fun to drive.
It's just too fun to drive.
Yeah, yeah.
People at the car shows love it.
Yeah.
So we got the LSA engine that we're gonna be putting in the 70 Monte Carlo with
Oh,
a 6L90
Yeah,
transmission.
Charger, yeah.
it's in the 70s, I'm not
No,
72.
it's
Oh, okay.
72.
That way I can put the 350 on it.
Okay.
We put that in the Chevy too.
The
As the engine stern.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna put the 355 in the 66 Chevy 2 on my
Okay.
phone.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That has the 302 in it right now.
That has that actual Camaro Z28 302.
DZ,
Yeah,
yeah.
DZ 302. For those who don't know
Man,
that.
that's a.
But I won't pour that
that's
down,
something-
store it.
Yeah.
That way nothing
I was
happens.
gonna say, you need to hold on to that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I think you ought to sell it and make a mint and go buy something.
You can-
Intake came up for sale recently, man, and it was like $900.
Yeah.
Good for an intake manifold, yeah, you can get a good chunk of change for that.
Mhm.
And I got the DZ carburetor with it too.
Oh, wow.
Is it the 3310, 780?
No, it's a 780, it's a 33 pin at 750 value, same there.
Yeah, this says.
Well, actually, the 3310-1 is a 780. Everything else on a revision is 750.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, but regardless, man, you don't see those.
No.
You just don't see them just laying around. That's ones you see on eBay for like a chunk of change.
Yeah, I got two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
so, now going back a little bit back on history, back to the, hands days. Your father-in-law, it's Emmett Smith, the guy,
Emmett Glass.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the reason either.
That was my
Yeah.
wife's grandfather.
Yeah.
That's where we got a lot of.
I need a lot of glass.
Yeah.
And Emmett, and then he had there's another,
Kevin,
yes.
yeah, that's his nephew.
Okay, it's nephew.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you see that photo that Kevin, interviewed
Yeah,
brought
that
up,
one guy.
the guy, that's Hugh Glass, that was the brother to that guy.
Emmett.
And I didn't know,
Okay.
when I met this guy, I didn't know that and these guys were walking around. I
Right.
didn't know that these dudes had all that history.
And I still have the original blue.
He's got his original '57 Chevy. The
The
blue,
drag car.
the famous car that everybody knows.
That never
back in
lost.
the day.
The car, yeah, went straight a mile long.
Well, that's some history right there.
That is.
He's got the car of Austin. Besides that car, it's August '56. And if August wasn't there, it was gonna be that '57. And he has it to this day. Tell us how you found that car. What was going on? I mean,
Yeah,
it was lost for a
well-
while.
Well, Emmett sold the car to Red, I can't remember Red's last name, and Red didn't like Emmett. So Emmett went back and tried to sell him the car. But first, Emmett sold it to Gene, which is Kevin's daddy.
Yeah.
Then Gene sold it to Red. Then Red tore the car apart. And then one day, we had to go over on Ditmore, move all this guy's junk out.
Yeah.
And lo and behold,
There it is.
there it is. And I walked up to the car and I felt underneath the back bumper, this full lead. I knew it. I reached back there, go to the rear bumper.
Yeah.
And I told everybody, y'all don't touch that car. That's my car.
Yeah.
So I was down the flatbed record.
So tell us what you do for a living. I mean, we've known you
I've
throughout the whole, but you played an important part in our street racing. What did you do all that time? What is your
I've been driving a tow truck for 31 years.
Okay.
And I drive a big 50-ton rotator now.
Gotcha.
And that's how it come about with the car. I moved it to Creedmoor, and I told the guy who I was. I
Right.
know the history of the car.
Right. So how was the shape of the car when you found it? I mean,
It's decent.
was it like kind of?
It's still decent.
It was parked. I mean, you did send me a photo. Hey, look what I just got a hold of him.
I even got his original trailer he pulled the car with.
Yeah.
Was it like a single axle, two axle?
No, it's a hand-built or
Dual
dual
tandem,
axle.
dual tandem, yeah.
With just two rails.
Yeah,
It's not flat, it's just two rails.
it's 2 rails. That's
Where
it.
tire drives
Just
on.
tire-
No, it's all open in the middle.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And,
And that was from like the
60s.
60s, right?
Yeah.
60s, maybe even late
Maybe
50s.
late fifties.
Late 50s.
Yeah, because they actually
Yeah.
drove. They took those cars all the way to California for one of the races in California.
And he pulled Bruce clutch up.
Did he? Because I found an aerial shot in, it was Hot Rod magazine, but it was that nostalgia Hot Rod that came out for a little
Right,
while.
yeah.
And so I'm opening one of the covers, and I see a white '56 Chevy, and a big dude standing
Yeah.
next to it. But what's the next car standing? It was the Blue Goose. So I'm like, man, what are the odds? And I don't remember if I showed you guys or what.
remember that.
And I opened it and I said, look, man, these guys went to California. Then I didn't realize till like way later that, man, these guys were actually, they weren't just staying in Texas. These guys were,
Yeah,
they were,
traveled, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So that was really cool when you took me to your house and you said, hey, come check out this '57, man. And I go out there and, I meet Emmett Glass himself. And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of cool to see
Yeah, humble
an
man.
original. It really,
Very,
some of the
very
coolest
cool
dudes.
man.
Yeah.
These are the original street racers of Austin also.
Yeah.
Didn't he used to run a Mopac or something like that? That's what he did.
wherever.
So,
Is that right back
yeah.
then?
Well, there was no
back
Mopac.
then.
There was no Mopac.
I was
Yeah,
saying,
but it was that
it
section.
it was a section of road. probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But see, that was actually Frankie's car.
Oh, was it?
His son's car.
Okay.
And then Emmett bought him a 58 Fit, did he say? To go to college.
Okay.
So Emmett took the 57.
Oh, that's how it happened. Okay.
Yeah. And then he went and met Don Gobro.
And Don Gore was another guy. Yeah, he's another big famous racer. If you, for all you guys into the old school drag racing, whenever you see a 40 Willis, and it says Vern's Interiors, or, interior by Vern. You see it, it's at Six Flags driveway. That's the guy they're talking about, and
He also had 62 there.
well, and,
That was World War.
and what's his brother's name? Don?
Don? I can't remember.
Don was another famous guy. His car was recently also restored. It's called Tweety Bird, and it came out in the Rodgers Journal magazine.
Okay.
And real famous. So anyway, these guys were running around with Emmett Glass back then.
Right. Well, see, Emmett would take the car out, and he would tell Don what the car was doing. Take it back to Don Road,
And then go ahead
and then pull the heads off of it, Don with machine, do the machine work a little bit,
Right.
put it back together, now go and try it. And Emmett said he left the line at 8,500 and he shifted it at 10.
I've heard.
But, I mean, some pretty interesting history, just to know that part. So it just made it even better, just for us to.
Oh, yeah, I would just sit at the house and just sit back and just
You look at it.
let him talk. Let him talk.
Yeah.
I took it in like a sponge.
So yeah, really cool days. So moving up into the by the 90s, street racing kind of like died out. We all pretty much agreed.
Well,
Whatever.
family had.
Family.
We had been kicked out of just about every parking lot in Austin.
Pretty much, it's all,
Yeah.
there's no hangout, so we ended up going to Oak Hill for a little bit, and then we got kicked out of that, so.
No, the average was so.
Oh, that's what happened, okay, so
Average.
that's how we lost it.
Yeah.
The Butte Gearheads though, they were kind of, I don't know, just sharing the parking lot, is that what it was? Cause
No.
Eric and you guys.
No,
The gearheads actually started.
Gearheads had
Then
Oh, did they?
we came in.
Well, I'm talking about the Oak Hill, cause I mean, it was
Oak
always.
Hill,
No, that was a donut club.
Was it donut?
Oh,
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
The donut car club, okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to grapple out all the club guys over there. And then Cabela, so that's where you guys have been, well, me,
It's been
everything
for a
part
while,
of
right?
that.
Yeah.
That's like 11, 12 years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We're still doing that every Saturday night.
Every day, every Friday, Saturday,
Not
well,
Friday.
no more Friday, Saturdays
Just
only.
Saturday.
We can find you.
You can find
out
me there.
Hanging out.
Mhm.
And you, Chris, what do you do?
Oh,
Still working many hours?
Yeah, when you work 100 hours a week, you're, on your weekend,
You're like, I ain't doing nothing.
Downtown.
Wow.
Yeah.
it's me time. Plus, on my weekends off, now that I'm single, I got my baby boy, so
Gotcha. Yeah, you gotta spend time with family.
well,
Yeah.
he's 16 now, so I gotta, he likes to fish, so we go to the coast a lot.
Oh, okay.
That's a big thing amongst
That's
racers.
that's a good, I mean,
And I'm not
fishing-
complaining,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because I'll be
You
honest
enjoy
with
your
you,
time with your
I
son.
take a fishing pole too, and I cast it out there, and I don't even bait it.
It's just for the fun, the fun is gonna drag.
It's like,
and
it's
every
just
once-
emotion.
Actually, every once in a while, I get a bite. I'm like, oh, what?
There's no bait on it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's just emotion that you gotta finish. Hey, I'm enjoying the
Yeah.
motion.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, cool deal. Like I said, I do like the way, everything's evolved. Like you said, in the 90s, yeah, things petered out. The scene, I shouldn't say the scene was always there. It's just the
It
way,
changed.
it changed the way,
Changed
you know,
dynamics.
the way the establishments or the place used to meet, they're like, they frown upon, you can't hang out here, super shots came and gone.
I worked there.
Did you really?
You worked at Super Shops? Wow.
When we hung up there.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Did you know Don then? Don Becker? We all used to go there. I used to go down there. I used to work at the Dell Factory Outlet right there on 183, so lunch break I used to go to get cars.
I showed up in the limousine there one night.
Is that right?
I was a chauffeur.
Yeah, he did them
Yeah.
over.
Is that right?
And the owner of the limo just happened to be riding with me that night. She said, well, we were in between gigs. She said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, we're real close to Super Shops.
So
She
hang
said,
out.
what is Super Shops? I told her, oh, yeah, let's go. So she was all for it. So I pulled up in this
Big old
110-inch stretch Lincoln limo and my tuxedo on and my shiny shoes and she's in her dress. And
We gave him.
here I am walking around. I'm like, here's this guy, here's this guy. It was fun.
We were sitting there.
It's funny.
It was great.
Hey, that's just I just want to go hang out. See some
I just hang. I'll show up at the parking lot anything.
Yeah.
Limo.
Some people want to go party and drinking. Hey, let's go to a car hangout.
Yeah,
That was fun.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So you doing the towing, man? I know you've been towing. I mean, you know, doing that record life forever here in Austin. And every now and then, man, you run across some sketchy accidents that make no sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, one that just, that comes up, or reminds me every time I see you now, is, there's a famous, Facebook, short vid, whatever you wanna call those. And it's this dump truck, man, it's just hauling ass down the hill. I think it's in PKs or somewhere.
No, is that, Jester?
Jester Hill.
2222.
And this thing was just gone. We think it's like, oh, that's gotta be in Virginia, you know. No, it happened here. And so I posted this video of like, man, look at this crazy dump truck. I mean, it literally went off the intersection into some, I don't know,
40 feet.
40-foot ravine.
yeah,
No, 40 feet straight there.
yeah. And who happens to do a comment? Oh, I was there. I fished them out. It was
You want the
him, know.
pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
You want the pictures?
I'm working my butt off.
He had a record on each side of it, working it. from each
And I
side.
was working both records at once.
Damn, that's nuts.
Y'all fished it out?
No, I fished it out.
Nobody. It's him. That was we.
The one guy that was helping him almost pulled him into the ravine. He said, "You
Yeah.
get away from that truck."
I'm gonna roll my record. Hey, you just stay with me. I called him Mr. Magoo.
Give me that control.
That's it.
Well, actually, my truck had a remote,
Yeah,
so I could stand over at the rotator,
yeah.
work the rotator, and work my truck at the same time.
Damn.
But yeah.
40 feet.
Yeah, he pulled the dump truck out of that 40-foot ravine.
And that was like a real, I mean, that straight
Yeah.
that bit went off. I mean, everybody was sharing it.
But nobody, even the driver walked away from
Right.
Yeah, he hit 3 cars. I think it was, and
that.
everybody
No,
was
7.
7 cars.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, so
but he's just lucky.
Man, that's just lucky, man. It's
Yes.
been worse.
Yeah.
It's been worse.
Then I worked one about a month ago, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Out there on 71,
Mhm.
and them wrecks,
Yeah.
the 71
I hate-
Rex, right? The ones up there?
huh?
You talking about the Rex in general that said I was
No,
71?
no,
or the-
This one in particular.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
that one,
Yeah.
that I have to, like, help get the bodies out.
Do you sometimes get there first?
No, I have to help get the
Oh.
bodies out. I am the first responder.
Okay.
So that's the part of the job that,
So you show up with a big truck,
yeah.
first responder.
Yeah.
Not little truck, not medium-sized truck.
I'm
Yeah,
the-
big
You're the big truck guy.
Yeah, that's a truck
Wow.
that cracked concrete and right on the wrong
But
road.
the worst ones are the ones where kids are involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 6 kids.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the ones that really get
Of course.
What about reckless street race and stuff? Have you had to come upon some weird, just unexplainable stuff? Just tell the story.
Just some, these
Shit
kids
that don't
nowadays
explain.
have no clue.
No clue.
Like they'll block a whole road with traffic coming up behind them or coming the opposite direction, and they'll cut off the paths. And I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
We would always go outside the city
Right.
and
Right.
find this isolated area, and the cops actually loved it.
And it's good point you brought up. 'Cause, yeah, the cops don't mind it. Like, if you're not violating or hurting nobody or nobody's in danger, like I said, we said it with these new generation of street racers. They have Travis County go out to them like, hey, just
Help them out.
Well, they're making
you
us
see
look
trailer,
bad.
yeah, you see the trailer. Okay, these guys know what they're doing, right? So just don't F
Well-
around and don't hurt nobody. So they
Well,
just leave them alone.
I'm not gonna bring up no names, but our cousin was.
He's real quiet over here now.
Our cousin was a sergeant on APD, and somebody took him to races one night.
Oh, nice.
You gotta give me.
Doesn't happen to be the one that don't want to
Like
come
I
on
say,
show.
I'm not talking to you,
But he actually told Brian, he goes, y'all are actually doing this very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're safe. Every time we went out to race, I think that we did a really, really good job
Right.
of making sure everything was right.
We seen headlights come to either direction,
Yeah, you
shut
shot
it down.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a few nights that things got a little out of control, but that wasn't on us. We would actually leave if that happened.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna sit around
So
here.
here's the thing too, is that your crew, like, and I'm saying not necessarily your crew, but like the guys you brought up to go race, they knew what was going on too. It's not like they went out there and acted fool.
There was unwritten rules.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So it's not like you're gonna be, hey, there's this one guy wants to come out with this, and like, let's wheel him out, right? And then
Right.
not just like, hey, come out, you
Right.
might do some dumb ass
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, no,
Well,
that's- there were some unwritten rules.
Right, everybody
You see
understood.
headlights,
Yeah.
everybody get out of the road, get out of the way, let the car go, let the tail lights get way on down the road.
Right.
Okay, now, let's see if we can
Yeah,
get something going.
And
Let's hurry up before the next one.
About how many cars do you figure, 'cause when I met you guys, one of the common spots where a lot of cars would show up was at, Decker. And,
We had 250 cars back
There were 3 deep in each ditch
yeah.
on the sides, almost a whole quarter mile.
And I thought the ones where it was about 60,
in.
you know, but before that, okay, so that's why I wanted you to guys to tell how it was, 'cause we've never had a track, and we did, you know.
Yes, yeah. Decker was really, really cool. And let me give you a little story one night.
Yeah.
It was great.
Right.
This tells you about,
That's what we want to hear.
this tells you about some of the respect people give to the street racers, right? We're out there one night and we're kind of standing around waiting on something to happen, and this old boy comes up in a 75 Trans Am, not Trans Am, it's a Firebird.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a Trans Am. And this guy gets out, and this black dude gets out, right? And nobody knows this guy.
Yeah.
Nobody knows him. Kind of just keep an eye on him because, you know,
Yeah.
some sketchy
Yeah,
people do
right.
show up out there.
Well,
We kind of
but-
keep an eye on this guy. So this guy walks up and he kind of looks around. He's quiet for about 10 minutes, and he goes, "I'd like to race one of the faster cars here." And everybody kind of just looks at each other and looks at each other. And
Oh, he's
finally,
breaking rules already.
Chris goes, "Oh, what you got?" He says, "Man, I got $50." Chris goes,
You don't want none of
"Okay, I'll take that." So we all kind of get over to the side. We get him going. Say, "Okay, now keep an eye on this guy. We don't know this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Just keep it." This is something's weird about because you didn't hear the car you pull up. It's quiet, right? This is a quiet
It's
car.
the formula.
So they get out there.
Right shit.
Yeah,
That's right
exactly,
shit.
exactly. This thing got a turbo and both with the trunk and under the hood. So anyways, so we get out there. I flag him off, and Chris puts us spanking on this guy.
Yeah.
He beat him by about 1/8 of a mile. He beat him bad. I don't know what. He usually does a fender run. You know, not this time. He said, "I'm going to show you what I got." $50 was a lot back then.
I'm gonna get all that money.
So Chris goes and just puts a spanking on this guy. And Chris turns around, comes back, and this guy's still trying to make a turnaround back there. He's already back at the starting line. So he gets out of his car, and we look at each other and say, "Okay, y'all ready?" I say, yeah. Let's see if we're going to get into a fight here, or what's going to happen when this guy shows back up.
No, yeah, you just don't
He
know.
turned around, here come the headlights. The guy's coming back. All right. He didn't just, I thought he was going to just keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
He came back. He parks his car and we're like, "Okay, y'all ready? We're ready." This guy gets out of the car and he is smiling from ear to ear. He walks up to him and gives him his $50 and says, "Who's next?"
Is that right?
So somebody else got to pass off because we didn't want to spook the guy real quick. We
Yeah,
took
yeah,
some more money out.
yeah.
By the time we get done, we take $250 from this guy. And he's still smiling. So finally we had to ask him, "Hey, bud, you just lost $250 and you didn't just lose it, you lost it bad." He says, "Okay, let me tell you a story here." He said, "I'm an Army guy.
Yeah.
I live in the barracks at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
I don't go to bars. I don't do any of this stuff."
Yeah.
He says, "I just happen to come along and see some real street racers out racing.
Holy shit.
Who can go back to their hometown where you're from and tell them, I raced against real street racers. I raced them."
Damn.
He just happened to find our spot.
And he was happy as he could be.
Wow.
But this is the
He was
same.
at the right place at the right time.
But this is the same guy that went to David Booker and raced him into 57.
Are you kidding me?
10
He
seconds,
wanted everybody.
$100.
He wanted everybody that night.
So what did Booker do? So Booker lines up, he's like, "I'm gonna take this."
But you took the $50. I don't remember the exact
Did he-
outcome.
did he
I just
have it-
remember his race more than anything else. I'm like, man.
But then the guy showed up next weekend at the parking lot because we told him.
Yeah, we're.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I walked up to him, I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "I finally found you." We're not harming. I mean, he turned out to be real cool.
Really, really cool
Is that
guy.
right?
Yes,
Nice
yes.
guy, but then I looked at him, I said, "Dude, I would have raced you for free."
Yeah.
Just for bragging rights.
I said, "You throw money out there, I know I'm
He must have come from New York or somewhere where they run for money. You know, a lot of money.
But that gives you perspective.
Yeah.
What some people
Right.
see in street racers
Right.
is like, holy cow, I got to race against real outlaw street racers. 'Cause
Right.
it's illegal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's illegal, right?
Yeah.
But most time during the week, I have to do everything proper
Yeah.
in the military.
Yeah.
So he comes out,
breaks
"Hey,
loose.
I'm breaking the law." dude."
I'm mad at my parents. I'm mad that I should be back.
Yeah, I'm on leave. I'm gonna
I do what I want to.
Yeah, but that brings me up to a good story. When I was up in Virginia,
Mhm.
we was out street racing, and my throttle cable broke on my 72. And we're way out in the country.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, man, how am I gonna get my car home? All of a sudden I look down my team shoes, I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
And there was already a hole through the firewall.
Yeah.
For the low pressure line.
Oh, nice.
Right,
So-
you can't shoot the shoestring through there, right?
Right, but good thing about my Monte Carlo, it's a home shit.
Yeah.
So I got to go down the road and I had this spring on that. I'm like, man, my hand gets hurt.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I look at my buddy, watch this cushion throw.
Oh, God.
Or wrap around the column, wrapped around the column shifter, like, hope nobody's coming. That's it.
That's it. Damn, slam the brakes.
You gotta improvise, that's what you gotta do sometimes.
But see, that Monte Carlo I got, I looked into the deal, that 72, the one I still have.
Mhm.
Buddy of mine's sister was getting a divorce. And her husband built a motor for his car, it's a
Oh.
396.
Yeah.
And he put the motor in the car and started it up, had a major knock in it.
Right.
So then she's getting a divorce, and he knew I was looking for Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
He said, hey, my sister's got this car for sale. $500 worth?
Yeah.
I think it, and I asked him, I said, well,
Yeah.
what
That's
kind of
good.
condition? He goes, they were driving it up from North Carolina, had 350 in it, blue bolt tail house. So they pulled the motor out and they got divorced. I went over to look for it and I'm like, yeah, this is going on me. It had perfect interior. It was a grandma's car, it had 72,000 miles.
Wow.
Damn.
So we took it home, pushed it up in the driveway. Somebody had me get rid of my Mustang.
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 Yeah,
I
that's
had
Ford
a
Ford.
78 Mustang, 2 miles, 1 factory V8 14,
Oh.
T-tops.
Oh.
5 hours to change heavy gasket.
5 hours change that. But, so we got the motor on stand and we tore the motor
Yeah.
apart. I put this 396 in the back of that Mustang. And drove 30.
That's how they're supposed to be used, right?
30 miles home with this
Wow.
396 in the back of a Mustang 2.
Mustang 2.
Mustang
Hatchback.
2 with a
Oh.
hatch. Yeah, it's not a real Mustang.
Oh, wow.
So,
Imitation.
Had a lot of room.
so
back
we
there.
get it home and me and Brian throw it up on the stand and we pulled the crank out, can't find nothing. It had brand new
Yeah.
pistons, new rods, all new bearings, new cam. Then Brian looked at me and goes, hey, take the rings off that piston.
Mhm.
He goes, now turn it upside down, put it in the board, put it in there and boom, boom, boom.
Oh, wow. Wrong.
What he did was he took a
30 over.
standard,
Standard
396, and boarded 30 over, put
Standard
standard pistons, 396 pistons in.
Damn.
So what that, we worked at Napa at the time,
Mhm.
so I went out and got some standard bore 402 pistons.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, 'cause you
Yeah,
put two
yeah.
396
Yeah,
in
that's- yeah, yeah.
And then,
Over 396.
Yeah.
then I went right in front of her house and did a humongous burnout right in front of her house. And she come running, chase me down. Oh, you got another motor for a car? No, it's staying.
Oh.
And she goes, what was the matter with it? I said, well, your dumb butt husband put
Small
standard
piston.
396 pistons in a 402 block.
Because yeah.
He probably, well,
He thought it was
either he
already
forgot or he didn't know what he was doing, I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
that's kind of like, that's not like a common thing. You should know better, right?
But that's how I looked in my Monte Carlo. And I still got it to this day. I took all my kids home from hospital in that car.
Oh, there you go, man. You get that.
Did you even stick at one point, one of you guys, y'all actually ended up with the Joe White?
We did.
No,
Eric,
Eric,
31, something like that?
Eric had Joe White 327 that was in the 85 Monte Carlo.
He still has that boy.
You put it in that, right?
No, I think he sold it.
Did he?
Pardon?
But, so you just stuck that motor in there because your 32 was hurt, right?
What ended up happening is that I needed money. My son needed surgery, I think is
Yeah.
what it was. Or either that or, anyway. I needed some money to take care of some family business.
Yeah.
So I sold the car to Eric.
Okay.
It's the only time the car's ever been sold. It's
Right.
always been in my name. I am a one owner of it,
Right.
but Eric owned it for 2 years. And at that time, the engine was messed up, 383 was messed up at the time. So Eric just happened to have a 327 sitting there, so Chris came over and helped him stab that 327 in the Monte Carlo.
Well, first we told Brian, hey, since your wife does not like your car sitting in front of the house, inoperable,
Yeah.
why don't we just move it to Eric's house?
Yeah.
That's how this came about.
Right. And then they ended up putting the engine in it.
That,
Without him knowing.
which was a really,
I mean,
and that was a really nice motor too, though.
that thing ran good. My son put that thing through all kinds of,
Yeah.
what do you want to call tests?
Yeah.
And you. But my son called it.
Yeah, it's something to do with that
My
thing.
son showed me a video of it one time in Pflugerville going down Heatherwild, before when you went, I guess that would be
Forfeit.
south on Heatherwall.
Yeah.
They made a hard right-hand turn. There was a muddy field out there.
Mhm.
So he says, watch this. And he shows me his phone and the screen's black. And all of a sudden you hear this. And he goes by, you see headlights go by. I said, what was that? He said, what do you think it was? I said, it kind of looked like the Monte Carlo, but it was black. He says, it was. I said, but looking at the video, I can tell you're going south on Heatherwild. He goes, yeah.
There's nothing
Jacob, there's a 90-degree turn. He said, we made the turn. It went a little sideways, but they made the turn.
But the car still had the spool of 433.
It's got 433 in the back.
Yeah, he did run around on a little 7.5 Timbo. He ran around on a full bill.
Yeah.
Motor 9-inch with 433
You can make
spool.
you can make anything wrong.
He drove that car like that daily.
For years.
He just highway, got down, come back.
Drove it everywhere.
The only guy that I knew that would actually drive with nobody, not that many people would drive their cars because they love
We
you.
drove,
This guy
we
did.
built street motors.
Yeah, and too.
I will not build anything I can't drive on the street.
Except for
Yeah.
this 82 is the first purpose-built car
Yeah.
that we're doing.
Yeah, I remember I went to Austin Performance and I'm over here getting rates and shit for the street. And Bill Marquinez is telling me, well, you know, you should get this radiator cover. You should do these electric fans.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, I'm like, nah, I just need those. And I'm like, well, what's this here? Why come here? He goes, well, there's another guy that's coming in here and he's ordering this. He's putting this car on the street. It's also a big buck, you know. I'm like, who's the guy? Well, he's the guy from South Austin. You might know Bryan Kerley. I'm like, ah, shit. So this is all his stuff from the money. I'm like, man, I'll, you know, cars can survive on that Lone Star Roundup, you know, and
Yeah.
so now I knew why he was preparing to keep that motor from overheating, you know, in the middle of the summer.
Oh, God, yeah. I put heavy duty stuff in that thing. It's got a 4,500 CFM electric fans on it.
Yeah.
Suck a small child up.
I was
They get too close to the front.
Yeah. So I was like,
Thing,
oh,
turned
But
like
get
a
back
jet motor,
to-
yeah.
But getting back to that 327
Yeah.
in his car, me and Eric took it to the track and Bryan was there.
yeah,
And Eric went out there and made a pass in it, came back, and very conservative.
yeah.
And they told me, Uncle Chris, you built the car, come on. I'm like, no, this year's out, so you go out there and enjoy the car.
Brian, when you were there, Brian, you were watching your car?
Yeah. He did a couple.
Yeah.
And so Eric just hounded me, here, Uncle Chris, go.
Yeah.
I said, so it's your night. Go have fun. Finally, I'm like, all right. I went out there and made a pass and beat his time like 8/10 of a second or something like that bad. But I came rolling back in.
Yeah.
Every lift from the motor's right. Then he goes, you messed up my motor. I said, just hold on a minute.
Go adjust it.
Shut it off. Let it go down for me. Fired back up and still rattling. I said, watch this. They got quiet.
That's 2 minutes fine, it's right
There you go, that's how
there.
you break the motor in.
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody knows how to break it.
No, that motor's already broken.
It was
Yeah.
broken, it just it got set them lifters, and maybe they were shit right.
They bump up or something.
Yeah.
Just need to lay down.
Yeah. Yeah, them old 327s, man, up there, you know, that,
Yep.
the first motor I had was a 283.
How many you want?
Huh?
How many you want?
How many?
How many
how
do you
you got
want?
like that? Yeah, 283s, man, that was, man, it was a 283 steel crank, it had just some fuel he had there, 195, I guess. 194s. And then it had like a little Corvette cam, I don't know what it was, but man, when we first got that truck, it had a 283 and had a Saginaw 4-speed and had 410s. And it had a 14 by 7-inch wheels all the way around, but it had like some little, like some N60s in the rear.
That those slot,
Yeah,
okay,
they
yeah,
were
14s?
slots. Yeah, they were 14, all the way off. So it had like some 225, 75 in front
Yeah.
of them 60s. Man, he just smoked it. I mean, just first, second, third gear, man.
Yeah.
And I remember, my dad said, man, that rear end's going out, it's howling. And the next thing he put like a 321 in, it's like, it's killed everything. But it's still a strong motor. But
Yeah.
Yeah, 283s, man, 3-inch stroke, man, 327s.
One of the blocks that Emmett had over there, Eric got it, right? And Eric's like, well,
No,
no,
you got
I got a block from you guys. It was a block that had been in that little barn. Anyways, I took it home and I was using it to set up the chassis, setback and all that.
Mark block.
And so it's seasoned, obviously, it's been seasoned, it was built, it was machined, but it was never used, and you could tell. So I'm looking at it over, and at the same time, one of Hughes' sons, he gets a hold of me. And so we talk back and forth, he lives out in Washington, somewhere out there, and so we're talking back and forth, and so he's telling me a lot of cool stories, because he's the one that took photos back then. And so I tell him, I said, you know, I've got this block, and he goes, well, what is it? I said, well, it looks like a 283 block. He goes, do you know about, what year? I said, I don't know, I haven't, let me get back with you, I'll find out. So I go try to figure out the numbers, the block is zero there. And then, so I flip it around, I barely see the numbers on it, I run the numbers, and it is a 57 block. But I flip it over, and it's got, somebody somehow managed to machine starter mount hold on it.
Oh.
So I'm like, wow, that's another mod.
Yeah.
And then, so I get back with him, and I tell him, I said, hey, so obviously it's a 57 block, it's thick as hell. I measured it, it is a 4-inch bore. I'm like, damn, they've done a lot of work to this block. So I tell him, he goes, well, there's this story. So there's this 55 Chevy we had, and we took it to Little River to run, some rug races out there. And he goes, but we didn't tell anybody that, it looked like a 283 or 301, but he goes, but it's actually a 331 with fuel injectors. And we were running out there, and he goes, it was some stiff competition back then, because
Yeah, that's a 55 with the step back motor and everything.
yeah,
that's built.
and there was one of the spare blocks that was, I guess that was built and never put together.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I said, well, damn. I said, oh,
Was
that,
that Sonny you were talking?
huh? Sonny? Yeah, Sonny. Yeah, so, but by that time, y'all know Fernando, he needed a block. And I said, well, I have one, I'm not gonna use it. So I give it back to him, because he gave me a lot of stuff. But I should have checked, man, to see the clearances for a crank, that's like a small journal
They
crank.
probably didn't have.
It probably had that,
All clearance
so I'm
and
like,
everything.
I should have looked at it, that would have been cool as hell to know that, but that's how extreme that those guys would build.
They would come up with some wild
Oh,
combinations,
yeah,
because there wasn't a lot in the aftermarket. They had to do with.
Yeah, they had to
Yeah.
make stuff
They had
work.
to do with what they
Yeah.
had.
He told me, he goes, oh, we had one of the.
There are some of the tricks that, like when we talked with
Olden?
Olin, they were doing some kind of, some trick stuff that, you wouldn't have thought of in today's standards, back then they had to do what they had to do. Whether it be, like you said, every rule was made to be broken.
Like one of the-
They're doing things.
Bent. One of the
Bent
things
is
that,
yeah.
that they were also doing back then, which didn't become illegal until later on, because it was such a successful bending of the rules, they would take one whole side of the motor and bore it out, do whatever they could, because normally when you go to the track,
Yeah,
if you
they
won,
would
they were gonna go to the easiest side of
One
the,
hit.
yeah.
Check that one side, yeah.
So it's not cheating, but it is,
They just
it is,
check it.
until you finally,
But
somebody actually said.
that comes back into the old standard. It's only cheating when you get caught.
That's it.
Well, that wasn't a caught thing, it's just that that's what they were doing to verify. They never said you couldn't do it. So NASCAR was doing all that crap, and then the drag race would say, hey, we did, so they were doing that stuff back then, but, by the 1960s, you get caught now, that sucks. But that's not the point, my point was, because I wrote it into one of the stories, my point was, look at the machine that these guys were doing back in the 50s, just to be so, today we get a stroke.
Imagine what you just said. You
Yeah.
just said you took a 283 and bore it to a 4-inch
Yeah.
bore. That
Yeah,
tells you
that-
what kind of engines were in those
Yeah.
things. That was some thick.
That was thick center walls, yeah. Thick
Oh,
center walls.
Yeah, because I checked the other 283 that, because I was looking to do that. And when I checked that,
Oh, yeah.
I read all kinds of crap, and it turned out that it was only those early blocks.
Only the early blocks.
Truck blocks,
Yes.
Corvette blocks. So I checked it, I'm like, God dang, this thing is still really super
Well,
thick.
The bore is one thing, it's just the material that they made it out of.
Mhm.
Because the bore was like a 3.78 or 3.875 or something like that. That was a 2 or 3.
Yeah, this is basically a
But
boat
so they
block.
basically took out 125,000 to get the full.
And
Yeah,
still,
exactly.
and it probably still
Still has
had,
some
you could
meat
still
in
do
it.
another,
Oh, yeah,
I think that thing would have probably took
yeah.
maybe another 30.
Yeah.
That's how the
But
numbers.
Yeah, they still have some to
I still got all them those.
Yeah, and you still have that change that's in there doing that.
Hey, now you've got some cast iron power drives at the house.
Cast iron, not aluminum, cast iron.
Cast iron.
So what else stuff do you have of the 57?
I just
that
have
you
to
can
show.
put together. You don't have any parts that he may have had, tack, seats,
No.
steering wheels,
No.
nothing.
Just a shell.
Man, well, at least you got
Well, I
the
had
car
a rolling
back.
chassis,
Yeah, the rolling truck.
but it didn't have a rear end in it
Okay.
when I bought it.
Oh, he took it apart that far? Wow.
It has a Saginaw rear end, but not the 48.
Yeah.
No, that's not
And also, back when Emmett ran the car, it had a cast iron T10 in it.
And that was a thing that was a really hard thing to change over to, because you're talking about a brand new Corvette that's running those, and then, you know, here you got hands on those guys running 3 speeds, and then when you finally catch wind that, hey, you know, a guy has a 4-speed, and, you know, it's in Dallas or whatever, and, you know, so I got to, there was a story,
But see,
he's running a 4-speed, nobody knows that it's like high tech,
Yeah.
you know.
But you see, the frame still has the original mounts on it.
Yeah.
From where he put his original traction bars on.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. And I made them to Emmett standards.
Oh, okay.
Because he was standing right there when I made them.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, just like that.
Nice. Well,
And then I
hope you see that.
got hold of Don and Goldberg
Mhm.
and gave me the cam specs and this, that, and
Every
everything
video and stuff.
on that 292 that was in for.
Nice, nice.
So, but yep,
I dig it, man. Like I said, that's a big chunk for sure.
Yeah, I mean, these guys,
but I might lose that car though.
it's,
It's not my ex wants to car.
yeah, well, I
Because it's
mean,
her grandfather's car.
as long as the car gets saved and it gets put
But
back.
if she gets it, there's no time for it.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. But you know,
Any chance that you guys, are gonna return back to the streets, or, let me ask you this.
I'm trying to.
Are you,
catch up with Adam.
we've already had the conversation, but I wanna ask you, street or track people, what are you guys?
Street.
Street, there you go. Bring it back to a
Back
street,
again?
yeah, and this
Right.
is for the racers, a race for the racers, if the audience goes to, it's not for the, it's for us,
Right.
if you're racing.
But that's the reason why I'm building this
It's
car.
top end.
No, okay.
No,
There's a
that's
slow
why I'm
pass
building this car.
and the fast class. In the fast class, they asked us, you think 8 seconds are fast? And I stalled for about a second or two, because that's how much faster they are.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, these cars nowadays are stupid fast.
Yeah.
My car now can be able to hang with them, but I'm still gonna go out there and have fun.
Well, it's like Buck said, he's gonna try and find, what do you say, what is, normally you always say?
get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
Just give it, you know, just go have fun. You know.
I'll be honest with you. Me and Bryan, he brought me up. Ever since I was about 12 years old, he would take me out racing with him.
Yeah.
And we come in with the sun coming up.
That's a funny story there, too.
Yeah. So, but, he brought me up this way.
Right.
When we go racing, it doesn't matter if you win. Winning's a plus.
Yeah.
I
If
enjoy
you're
it.
having fun,
That's all that matters.
I'm here to have fun. I got plenty of stress in my life. I'm here to have
This
fun.
is stress reliever.
That's all I'm building this car for.
Right.
It's just go ahead and have fun.
I know it was me and you, we'd always end up, when nobody else was going to go nowhere, hey man, I'm gonna go up north, I'm gonna go find some racing, and
Oh,
we'd be
we
like,
always- oh, yeah.
let's go, he'd jump in my car, boom, and we'd
We
be
don't
over
go
at the,
north and mess with
it was that go-kart place where,
And
no, it was where, Calabrese was talking about, he was parked on this side, helping somebody change a tire,
Oh,
and everybody was hanging out on the other side.
Fries.
Fries, yeah.
Fries.
Well, the early one was where he was at, and me and
Okay.
him went out there, man, and we're like, damn, this is some weird shit, man. It's a new type of car racing we got going on. But anyway, we went out there, we explored it, and we actually got entertained by the go-kart dude popping off the cords on the car. So it was just like,
Yeah,
it's indoor cold go-kart.
Yeah.
The things that entertained us
Yeah.
were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, not everybody is in the same boat.
Well, that's like Bucky with his rail.
Bucky with a rail car.
Who was Bucky?
It was my friend Tim Kimmons was his cousin.
Yeah.
Bucky was in South Austin, lived on Green Forest with all the rest of them down there.
Okay.
And Bucky had a lot of fast cars, but Bucky wasn't keeping up with the fast guys.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden Bucky comes to the parking lot,
With a good car.
and he's got a frame with a big block and a seat in this.
Oh, a
thing.
buggy. That's happened already.
A true
It's
buggy.
today.
It was a
See,
true rail
guys,
car.
It happened
right?
back then too.
And
These
he
guys.
got this thing inspected, and they wouldn't inspect it because they didn't have any place to put the inspection sticker, so they put a little piece of glass mounted right there to the left side of the steering wheel, and they put the inspection sticker there, okay? And he came out there with this winter bomber helmet thing on with the glasses, the goggles, and he's racing this big block, and this thing's got nitrous and everything on it, and it is a death trap on wheels,
Yeah, I would say
okay?
that's quite out.
And I'm going to say he won a few, but it never really expanded the way he wanted it to.
Yeah.
It's just the thought of what he came out there with. He's like, wow.
Innovative.
It's light and big power, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Aston was
See,
telling me.
but see, he would hang out with Fat Pat
Oh yeah, those guys.
and Cedar,
Cedar,
the
yeah.
faster people than us.
The 11, 10 seconds.
Yeah, the fast guys from South
Yeah.
also. So,
Because Cedar's always been super fast.
yeah, Cedar's great.
What car did he have? Because that was before.
69 Camaro. And then he ended up with a Nova after that.
Oh, okay.
70 Nova, 69 Nova.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a guy who he came out with the buggy the last couple of years.
yeah, I seen that on.
And Aston was actually telling
Yeah,
me hands on. He was there. Tell him what he said. His hands were
Well,
frozen.
they were like knuckled, white knuckled, but that buggy that came out on the top and stuff, he was like winning. There was that guy who was winning, and I think they had to like, kind of get him.
Well, see,
I mean,
I've been keeping up with the, was it 830 512 YouTube?
512.
is it the
Yeah.
512 like
Is that-
like
well, but-
ATX dig stuff like?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
big, but
Kinda
back a
brief,
couple
yeah.
of years ago, it was called the 830 something.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
And,
They were doing a lot of road racing, street racing, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's all shooting.
Yeah, all street racing, yeah.
Where they were over here on Howard Lane at 130 racing.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that, yeah. So that's what we call the
Those are YouTube videos.
the new generation of those
But-
cats.
But see, I've been watching these videos because at one time I'm gonna have to set this car up.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to see
Yeah.
what everybody is doing, if they're doing anti-squat or if they're doing a squat,
Gotcha.
long level.
Right, yeah, that makes a big difference. So with, just like no prep.
Yeah.
No prep, you don't, there's a lot of, before it was squatting. Right, but now, well, it all depends on what tire you run. There's a tire,
The surface.
the surface. So a lot of people, you want separation and separation in front, but on the street, you do still want some squat.
Right.
Yeah, and the tire makes there's a really big thing on
A lot of
tire.
difference.
Yeah, a lot of
But-
different tire. Right?
But then getting the car I bought, the guy I bought this car from, I don't know if you know Eric Cronin. He lives down in Lulu. He's a big street racer too. The guy that owned the car was a friend of Eric's, and whenever I picked up the car, it's a ladder bar car and cage.
Oh, okay. So that's not
Yeah.
And it's got coilovers, and Eric told me, he said, first thing you need to do is change your rear springs to 140 pound springs. And I'm like, ain't that a little light, Eric? He goes, trust me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff, man,
But-
on that stuff, because that's a science.
But I'm way out my level at this point.
You're gonna learn.
You need
There's
to
a
go,
lot.
yeah, you need to go, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to learn, because, and here's the thing, what a lot of people are doing, they're doing even lighter, even though you've got like 14+100 on the rear, sometimes you want to go lighter spring, and it's like opposite of what we learned, it's
Right.
opposite.
But
That's
the,
the
the,
thing.
The
the
pinion
stuff,
angle is
Well-
not what you think.
Yeah.
but the stuff that they're throwing out there, my brain's just going.
Yeah.
This is.
Well, that's what you gotta do, just go do some investigation, research, YouTube has got a lot of, stuff on there, go look at what the car's doing.
Talk to the guys.
Talk to them,
That's
yeah,
it.
talk to them, I mean, just like back in the day, they're all here, there to help somebody.
That's how I learned everything I know. I went to the street race.
Don't be scared to
And there was a
ask.
circle of guys, and I'd sit on the outside of the circle and listen to what they were saying, and then go home and break something,
Yeah,
and then figure out why it didn't work the way they said it was going to.
right.
That's how you learn.
Yeah.
Be quiet and listen.
But I've also tried to talk to some of these, how do I put this? Newer generation.
There you go, yeah.
Uh, And, I don't want to throw no names out there, but they're kind of
Yeah, well,
pushing
It
me
depends.
off.
Well, so-
We've been trying to figure out
So there is a
Where's
click,
what?
there's like a click too, like I said.
You have to get
They
it.
wanna, of course, they wanna keep that knowledge, close.
Yeah,
So
there's a
they're
right
not
click and then
understand-
there's a wrong click.
Yeah.
And if you happen to hit the wrong click, you're gonna be not racing with the ones who are racing.
Right,
the
well,
red
see,
light.
that's the reason why I want to go talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy's pushing me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like on my motor, he goes, "You need a crank trigger." What's my distributor?
Yeah. Well,
Definitely old school.
yeah, I mean,
You have to catch up.
the distributor works, but like the crank trigger can give you true, because again, you got a distributor that's got gear, that gear can wear, couple
Tolerances.
degrees,
Yeah.
tolerances, so crank trigger is not,
Yeah, put it on.
it's there, right? Yeah, so that's really good.
Well, see, I told Jimmy that I went out and bought a digital 7-box.
Mhm.
I have no clue what I'll do with it. Okay, but then after I talked to him, I went and got me a crank trigger distributor, crank trigger
Yeah.
pull.
Well, it's moved up even one step above that nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's, Ray knows a lot about it, he's got a lot of knowledge on that.
On EFI stuff.
On EFI, well, just on MSD, like you got the grid.
Yeah, the grid got like a digital 7, which does wonders. You can do launcher charge, you can do a whole lot of stuff. The grid, in my opinion, that's where it's at now. But
Right, but let me take baby steps.
yeah, no, like I said, the grid you can do.
Hey, you're not alone, man. There's some
Yeah.
badass racers right now
The-
that are in your boat, and they're just like, hey, I just
Yeah.
just give me the shifter and the steering wheel.
The
You know?
digital 7 can do the stuff you need, basically.
Well, see, I've also been, I talked to Thomas Webb. I don't know if you know this,
Yeah.
but I went with Thomas and on the Pinks.
Oh, did
Pinks
you?
all out.
Okay.
Yeah.
With Mark and all them.
Yeah.
And I was crewing for 7 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas, that was it, because I went to that Pinks too. So Thomas, he literally like finished that truck like that night.
No, I'm talking about when you took Mark's Nova.
Oh, that time, that was the Super San Antonio. Yeah, we were there
No,
too.
no, that was Baytown.
Oh, that one. Okay, because I know he took Mark's Nova to San Antonio. It was called something else, but he drove the blue Nova. Anyway, so
Yeah.
gotcha.
Brad's old car.
Yeah. So so Thomas he actually runs the grid in his car. In his
Right.
truck, so.
Well, Thomas is one told me to go with the grid, but I'm just sitting there going through the grid and I'm like,
Yeah, we could take baby steps.
let me go this way first.
If you're doing 100 hours at your job,
Yeah,
and then you've
yeah.
got
Right.
that to play with,
Yeah, that's overwhelming.
It's gonna, yeah, you're
Yeah,
gonna
and then
get.
having to deal with the nitrous controller, which he's gonna be on the keyboard.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure
Get
anything
one
out.
of those Korean guys to help
But I hope we don't burn too many pistons
you.
Burn pistons up. This guy takes my Nova to Little River. When we got back, okay, he says, "Hey, I want to go ring Little River." I said, "And?" He said, "I got to work." He says, "Yeah, but I want to go." I said, "Okay, take the car. You know where the keys are? Go get the car and go,
Yeah.
trailer it up and go." So he grabs the car.
I drive it.
He drove it. Well, he drove it up there. And he calls me up and says, "Hey, why the electrodes keep falling off? There go spark plugs on this thing."
I forgot to back.
I said, "You did back the timing off, didn't you?" He goes, "Oh, part of the process I forgot to do." So,
Yeah, those tips got a little hot there.
Yeah, but you want to hear some good narrating, we need to find that.
yeah, we need to find that video of Mr.
Mr.
Green.
Green narrating.
Yes.
Oh, it's
I caught a little bit of it when I was editing, but
It was great.
kept going in and out.
It was great.
It was towards the very end. I think it was Kaderka's car was there. Nova
Yes,
was kind of talking
yes.
and talking.
Yeah.
It got a little interesting. But I don't have that video part no more,
Yeah.
man. So who the heck?
Well, it was Mustang meet, so the guy,
Yeah.
he was
Mustang
racing against,
Club,
he
yeah,
was
Mustang
racing
Club.
against a really, really nice looking Mustang. So the guy goes, "My money's on the Mustang. Nova's for sale if anybody wants to buy the Nova," because I did have it for sale at the time. And this Mustang come out of the hole and just like, and then and Nova's gone. I mean, gone. He beat that guy by so far, it was incredible. And he goes, "Well, I guess my money should have been on the Nova."
That's
And
it.
Mr. Green just starts just cursing. He's already had a few Bud Lights.
Oh,
He
man.
just said,
Yeah,
"You're damn right, this should have been on the Nova."
Yeah, but then he did his Budweiser commercial.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Budweiser.
This is brought to you by Budweiser.
Yeah, that video was funny. Remember when I was talking about the cameras
Yeah,
and shit?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
there's actually a video with
Dude,
you
I
know.
probably got some video from
CBS.
Mustang Club because I used to run that a lot too.
Yeah.
And I have a whole bunch of video that I've seen. And see a bunch of cars.
You might run, you will see.
I probably
these
do,
videos.
I'll probably do in there somewhere.
I'll say, so we were at most of the Mustang meets.
Yeah, the Mustang Club, yeah, that was.
We enjoyed it, that was one of the.
That was a fun thing back then, because back then it was either street, right, you had the street
Yeah.
night, which was twice a month at that time, and then when everything come up from us, 'cause back then, the only thing that was other than street racing was bracket racing, it was like
Yeah.
Sundays, right, it was Sundays. It was Sunday, so then you
Yeah.
had the street night, then you had the Mustang Club, that was always a big thing.
That was it,
Yeah,
yes.
that was
Yeah.
it.
Well, see, one good thing when I lived in Virginia, we lived 3 miles from Old Dominion Dragway. So,
Right down the road, right?
But here from Fort Worth.
Yeah.
but I would take my Monte Carlo out there, and I could cut 002, 001 foot braking it.
Yeah.
And the car was deadly consistent.
Yeah.
So you know where I was at there Friday,
Yeah,
Saturday.
you can see time, yeah, you can see time, yeah.
So for you guys, Buck, Bryan, Chris, so I wanted to see if you guys could explain the way the track works, because there's a street, and even today, you got, there's gonna be a street meet, and then there's gonna be a top-end meet, you know, but there's always the guys that will go to the street, right, and then you got the guys that are like, I don't know, but we'll go to the top-end, you know. Back then, there was also the street, and then those were fast guys. So Buck was in the fast guys, but then there's the faster guys that only go to the track. Atomic Dog, those dudes,
Yeah.
One Rat.
Tracy.
How did that work?
The Boney and them.
Yeah, how did that work? How did that environment work? And why were those guys, and if they were on the street, we definitely didn't know about it.
Well, are you talking about Tracy Smith?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They raced on the street.
I
They were really fast. They
I
were
heard
Maynard,
them.
right? Maynard
I
was
heard
their little
Yeah,
deal.
I've heard him in Maynard, and I've heard,
You can get into that.
I've seen him at Decker,
Mhm.
he's always had, he had the first Jim Camaros, right?
Mhm, Yeah.
Atomic Dog.
Well, Dole raced.
They did
Doyle,
like,
right? Doyle was another.
No, Dole ran. He drove their cars.
Oh, Doyle did.
Dole
Yeah.
drove the Pinto Bean for Arthur King, or King Arthur.
Keep going there.
Oh,
Yeah.
he
King
drove
Arthur.
the
Yeah,
Pinto
so I need to
Bean.
bring Doyle in there then. Talk to Doyle.
So-
He's in the fastest group.
Yeah, so Atomic was, he didn't run a lot on the street. I mean, but he did run, like, only way he would come out was if it was
The big money.
big money. I mean, that
One
was-
night in the 90s, I think it was,
Yeah.
we were at Maynard, and they said, hey, if you want to hang around later on, they're going to be racing up at the commercial park here in Maynard.
Yeah.
$10,000 on the
Yeah.
line.
That
And I was
I would
like,
say it was either
cow.
5 or 10 grand
It
every
was
time.
10 grand. I
Yeah.
was like, wow.
There would always be
couldn't
somebody
fathom
from
that.
Dallas or Houston. I mean, they're talking about from out of town.
But the only thing that I didn't like about the big money races like that,
There's one and gone, one and done.
no, it took them 4 hours to get run.
Yeah. I believe it.
So much shit talking out
That's
there,
almost,
bro.
hey, that's almost like when you go to a
Yeah,
track and
that
there's a
is-
big
yeah.
grudge, it's like, they're gonna run for this, and like, they're the last race, so like,
Right.
come on, man, let's go.
Yeah,
let's go,
I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how it came out.
But
So,
those were
so,
the fast cars.
Yeah.
I
those-
was also at San Antonio when
Yeah.
that car launched it over the fence.
Oh, damn.
On the
I don't know
big
about
race.
that.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I got a video of it somewhere.
Shit.
Were you down there that time?
there was one, you talking about the end?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen a couple guys, well, there's been.
No, this one launched it over the fence into the neighbor's front
Into
yard.
that,
Oh, wow, that far it went?
Yeah.
so, there was like there's like land, at the
Mhm.
cutoff, there's like,
Yeah.
and there's been a couple, actually, that they went, like, in that yard, or in that
Yeah,
property.
right.
So there's been a fatality there one time.
Well, that's the guy that bought that 69
Yeah,
Camaro.
that 69 that throttle hung, and
Yeah.
he went through the back. I mean, he went through the back.
But the guy that built the car on that 69 Camaro told him to take the car down there, unload it, do not make a pass. Because this guy
Or
just.
do not make a full pass.
Yeah,
Just
no,
not-
he told him, don't make
Test
a
it.
pass. And the guy made a pass and
Yeah.
brakes went out on him or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it was, something called him, but so kind of go back to
Yeah.
your questions, that,
The
so.
fastest guy. Tell me exactly what they were doing, because
I mean, it was so. I mean, here's the thing: is that typically they would come out just like they want to go to a bracket. Maybe sometimes they'll
No,
go and
yeah,
set us on, but
exactly.
maybe. But the street night was where everybody came out, and like, let's say so I started racing out there in '91, and then so 92, 93. That's when like the street started popping, man. It was like there would be 200-300 cars there sometimes on the street night. But they would come out on, there was the Le Mans,
The Lemons, I'm trying to bring
So-
some of those guys in.
There was the Lemons, there was Boney,
Mhm, Boney, Rick,
and
Rivera.
and, you know, the Tovar would come out.
Yeah, big ears,
And,
big ears, yeah.
and then, it was Tovar and, he used to run around with another cat.
Marquez used.
Mike.
Court Clark?
No. It was, Dave Cave.
Oh, Dave Cave.
Yeah, Dave Cave.
Caveman.
Caveman.
So
And
Eric, and they would come out, and they wouldn't come out to, because street night was a bracket night, right?
Yeah.
So it was bracket, it was fun, but they would come out just to hit, maybe do some drugs,
Yeah.
and so that was around here, and then there was some guys around the Temple area that were fast.
So we're even faster, the
That,
faster.
they were in that category. There was, there was Short Ridge, there was Trey Montgomery.
Hey, what's that guy's name that had full farm?
That's Chris Short Ridge.
Oh,
Yeah,
Short
yeah,
Ridge.
yeah. He still got that truck actually.
That's sweet.
He bought it out a couple of years ago just to play. But it's still running, still fast. So yeah, so those guys would come out. There was Montgomery, Short Ridge. There was Dentner had a Love that started playing around, and then there's Rick Hilton. Anyway, so there was a crew up there. These guys would come down from Austin, and it was just they would go out there just for bragging rights, really.
Well,
And that's what it was.
Well, I remember going up there and watching Caveman,
Yeah.
Tobar,
Yeah.
and Chris, and they just,
It was to go hit, right?
yeah, I
So-
mean, for giggles.
Yeah, so like in the early 90s, that's what they would do, but like in the late 90s, they started making like a quick 8 class.
Yeah.
So they would do like a quick 8, and they would be in there, right? Quick 8, they were fast, and there was some other guys that would come down from Waco and Austin. There was very few guys that would come from out of town to go to.
Were those the guys that were running Maynard? Those were the,
I don't think so. No, I don't
because they
think
had
they were.
some of the fast guys.
I
know
could be wrong.
the training, from,
Yeah,
he went up there and he didn't have his, he didn't have the screws on his rim, and so I guess his tire
Rotated.
and it blew. And so somebody said, oh man, he flipped, he rolled it, but the car didn't. I mean, I saw the car, it's not, he tugged it, But he was there, Trini was one of the 10-second cars, all motor, and he was running with those dudes. And I always knew because of Corey, because he's real close, well, he's cousins with Manny. So he knew all the fastest with chassis cars and all that stuff. And I knew that they were running on Sundays in Maynard. But if you didn't know these guys, you weren't going to get in there, even if you had a Nitro 11. See, it was above us.
Yeah.
So those were the really,
That was
really
the-
fast street cars.
Yeah.
And even till this day, you're probably not going to know how much went on inside that.
You don't want to know some of this stuff.
You probably don't. But we can talk to Trini. Maybe Trini can
Yeah.
tell us a little bit
Yeah.
because he definitely was
Well,
part of
I
that
did
group.
go out there and watch Tobar out in Maine one night.
Yeah, and Tobar got. He
Yeah.
was one of the fortunate ones that went from fast
Yeah.
street to peek his eyes in there because he got faster, and so
Yeah.
he got to see some of those dudes. But you're talking about. I saw a video. I don't know who was sharing it with Thunder Dog, and there was somewhere on the east side, and this is like I don't know 89, 88. And
Yeah.
when you look at these Camaros, there was a Camaro like this one, it was white.
It was all chassis now.
No, it was not. But when the hood was off of it, I mean, it had Dominators. That's crazy nitros. They looked like rear Morrison motors in a street car, And then King Arthur was there. His car looked crazy also. And these were the cars that were running at that track.
Yeah.
So we never saw them at Callahan.
That was the time that when I heard about Tom, it might have been 89, maybe 90, because I was
Mhm.
high school. And so a friend of mine that he passed away recently, but his name's Clay Race.
Mhm.
And Clay Race knew he had a Atomic Dog in Taylor one time at the car wash.
Oh wow.
And I don't know what he was doing, but man, he's in the car wash, man. I mean, it was a chassis car,
Yeah.
it was the Atomic Dog, the red one,
Okay.
and had Atomic,
The third gen or the first gen?
No, the first gen.
Okay.
The first gen. This was back in the 80s.
Yeah, oh, okay.
This is back in the 80s. And I mean, he's in the car wash parking lot, man, and he's trying braking, the hood's off,
Seriously.
and two-stepping in,
Wow.
and the dang dipstick of the transmission, it flattened, it shot in the air, like, where did this thing go, man? It was funny. Tracy probably didn't want to do But anyway, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when I got the.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that-
where your mama headed out.
Yeah, that was
Tracy right now is like,
well,
what?
Well, I
I'm gonna call Paul, man. What the hell's he talking
well, I
about?
mean, the guy passed away. I mean, so
Yeah. No, I know.
he didn't do
Limited.
But anyway,
Tracy was a nice guy, I think.
But no, but that's when I got the whiff of Tracy
Yeah.
in his car, and I go, okay, that's a car. And anyway, so to kind of reiterate what we're
Yeah.
talking about the track,
Fast,
the fast,
fastest.
those guys there, I mean, they were fast. I mean, and we're
How
talking.
fast do you? What quarter mile? I mean, what
So they were running
Second
the nines.
range.
They were running the nines.
nines?
Yeah. So like when I didn't get into the tens and the nines to probably like 97, 98. Because the fastest I got on a motor with a small block was a 9. Well, it was like 1080. And then I got 980 about like 97, 98.
Yeah.
But these guys were in and doing like about 95.
Low nine. Yeah.
I mean 95. Like what you said, when you're running 12 on the street,
Mhm.
and you got 11s, ooh, when you got the 10s, it was like that's something that.
Yeah.
But when you got into the 9s,
Yeah.
you're
level of class.
you're fast.
Yeah.
And there was guys up in Temple, Shortridge, Montgomery, they were doing it, and down here there was Rick, Boney.
I knew those guys because they worked
And
off
so-
the Rutland.
So
They were
Mike
quick. I saw them.
and Mike and Bobby, if you remember Bobby,
I remember
Bobby,
Yeah.
not Halleck. Anyway, so him and Mike, they always had cars.
Yeah.
Back in that day, they had a '56 wagon,
Yeah.
a
Then they
black
got
one.
the vet.
Then they had they had the vet. Well, Bobby had the Pro Mod vet.
Yeah, that lasted 3 passes.
Yeah, he's the one that had an accident
Yeah.
and
Lost his finger.
yeah, the steering wheel.
Yeah,
he-
steering wheel.
it took, yeah, that was in Napa.
That's what you always say. Whenever you're racing, you want to run with your hands open and those. Yeah.
Anyway, so but Mike and Bobby, they had
Yeah.
fast cars back then
Very
too.
fast.
And that Chevy too, they had it back in that day, and they were running in the 9s.
Yeah.
They still
He
run
still
Super
has it.
Chevy. Yeah, he still has it. They were running Super Chevy shows. But anyway, so to kind of go back, like I said, they weren't in there to bracket race back then when the fast guys would go
Yeah.
to the track. They were just running for like either bragging rights or just either grudging or
Feel
something
some money,
fun.
hit
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah.
That's what it was back then. So because they were like, okay, we don't want to give out really what
Yeah.
we're really running.
Yeah.
But that's what it was, and like I said, it was fast.
Yeah.
And we're talking like mid 90, 95, 96. That's when stuff was happening. And these guys were doing probably on the street that you just didn't know about.
No,
Yeah.
I knew that some of these guys, I know that Mike Chavez, Albert Limon, those guys,
Yeah.
because I went to their house when I was a little kid. Their uncle took me up there, and I
Yeah.
hung out with them. And their cars were.
Them Lamons, they had a Nova that was pretty fast.
Oh, they had
A couple Novas.
Albert had a little like a '83 Camaro, and it was my first time I ever got to see like a really built motor that thing's gonna run 10s, it's on strays. He turns it on, and I'm like, God damn! And then Mike shows up in his Monte Carlo, and it's above the stage of the cars that we know. And I'm like, well, what do you guys race? And we're like, man, we got our own drag strip back there. And I'm like, really? I got a drag strip? It's freaking Callahan's. But that's where they were hauling ass, and then they were part of that group that was even faster. So whenever they go to the track, just by coincidence, my brother-in-law worked off of Rutland, and that's where Dinkle and
Oh.
Rick Rivera and Boney were. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
always-
they were. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm hanging out inside the store, and it's just some tugged out Nova just made a test hit, and I'm like, I run out, man, and it's Boeing is red Nova,
The
man.
red
He's
one,
just
yeah.
like, I mean, that thing's coming. And then they bust out, Rick comes out in his 69. This is in the middle of the day on a Friday. Like, what the hell? They're doing test passes. I'm just like, damn happy as hell, grinning. I ain't seen this shit, on the street. And so I go to their shop, man, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to Liverpool, man, and you got a nice old Camino, you gonna go run? I said, man, my shit don't run like that. So I'm like, my transmission's going to take the shit, and they're like, well, we'll build it for you. So I'm like, really? You'll build my transmission? How much? How much you got? I don't know. I got like $75. We'll see what's broken with it. And they actually towed my car all the way from Motorwork, took it over, fixed my shit, and they're like, now, you gonna go out there? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go watch. And so their cars were, they had a Pro Street square body, and that was just insane to see a Pro Street, just launch on the street, wheels up, and made a little pass back on Rutland, that little turnaround.
Yeah.
And so I came back and I tell them, I said, you know, man, we hung out on 6th Street, and they're like, oh, we know. And I said, that's where we normally hang out, and then they actually came out there one weekend. Spain, Mike Chavez, our Bonet, Rick, they all surrounded, they took the parking lot, and they were like the fastest of the fastest. I said, oh shit, if these guys make a pass, if they go to Callahan's with us tonight, this is gonna be the best night ever. No, they didn't. Dayco showed up, all them dudes showed up that night. This is us, you know, being young.
This was like mid-90s?
This was early, this is like 93,
Okay.
yeah, and they all went out there, and I was like, wow, man, I've never seen these cars at this
Yeah,
level.
that sounds about right,
Yeah.
yeah, about that time, yeah.
But I knew that there was always a faster group, and
Yeah.
I, you know, I
Yeah,
just,
that was
you
it.
know,
That was back in the
interesting. So we're gonna have, I'm trying to bring some more guys to fill us in. on their
So,
little
so let
story.
me wrap
Yeah,
up
go ahead.
with, let me wrap up with, okay, so we talked about, you guys just passed, right, racing, you got a street. You kind of mentioned, what do you think the future of racing is now? What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. We always ask.
How do you see racing now? What do you think it's
It's
going?
all going electric. I'm sorry to say that, but I
Good old Chris, yep, it's going electric,
yes.
buddy.
Well,
Damn Tesla,
You
you
know,
done moved
you know
over
what?
here.
Electric is pretty cool.
Well,
Yes.
no, I'm not gonna lie, I mean.
I think it's cool,
I
it's neat.
just, but,
Are you gonna buy one?
No.
You think you'll ever buy one?
I'm more
Brian,
referring
don't even
to,
wanna look at me.
I'm more referring to, you know, of course,
We're all
the
fossil
electric
fuel.
might be going that way, but I'm more referring to the state of racing. Do
Yeah.
you see like a class racing, do you see no prep, do you see this street racing?
You know what, the way they're doing things right now,
Yeah.
there's no way in the world that we're gonna even think about what they're gonna do next, because some of the stuff they're doing right now, I'd have never thought of.
Right,
You know, no prep thing, we're using the back half of the quarter mile and racing and stuff, I'm like,
yeah.
what in the world, where'd y'all come up with this idea?
Actually, that was real simple. They didn't wanna mess up the track. That's
Yeah.
it, they just didn't wanna mess up the track.
Okay,
Yeah.
so where's it gonna be?
Yeah.
You know what, I own a CTSV, 2018 CTSV.
Yeah.
680 horsepower
Oh,
on a
yeah.
car that you
LS.
can drive. Yes, no, it's a LT.
LT, it's a new, I'm sorry,
It's an
new-
LT4.
Gen 5 or,
Yes.
yeah.
680 horsepower, and you can
Oh,
drive it
I
from
didn't-
here to wherever you want to, except through the water.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so that's where I see things going, is that the new technology is going to take over.
Well, we talked, the new cars, you can go buy a production car, 6, 7, 800, 900, you know. Yeah,
Mhm.
So you can buy a 600 that's 400 horsepower.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
that's a good
Yeah.
answer because.
that's where I see it going. It's the new technology is going to take over. I mean, look at it right now. They got these Corvettes and things like that they're running, and they're running high nines in the quarter mile.
Oh, the slow class, what is it, 6.5 and slower, 6.5
Yeah.
and 7.0?
So the six, so
Keep
it's
going.
a 650, well, they say it's 658 mile, that's the slow car class. So that's where you can get production car.
That's where your Cadillac enters.
Right, so
Yeah.
see, you're buying these cars that are supercars
Yeah,
that don't have to have the regulations that we used to have back in the day.
Yeah.
So these cars are running
yeah.
faster than 1199, that's for sure. You're definitely not
Well,
putting
that was the thing
a
that,
roll bar in one of those.
if you go look at there's a stock class in Indian trade, it's, if you run, I think it's 550, they don't even have roll cages in it, because the way the car,
Yeah,
the
Car
car's
set up with all the
The
curtains and all that.
Yeah, the pillars, everything's got an
Yeah.
extra skeleton.
I actually had a wreck in my
I was
2016
about to ask you that. How
CTSV,
did that feel?
and oh my, I was okay.
Yeah.
It was like a big old balloon, just like,
Yeah,
the
the
side
airbags.
curtain came out, the
Yeah.
other curtain came out, the front one didn't have to come, but the steering wheel, because I got hit on the side, but I spun my car almost 360 degrees in the air, and it landed back on the ground, and I came away with a messed up wrist because my hand was in the steering wheel when it,
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
it kicked.
right.
So, other than that, I was fine.
So that's the thing,
and
like, didn't you
it totaled
try to-
that car out.
Yeah.
So I am a firm believer in what they've got in the safety
Yeah.
features of these cars.
You also had a custom built CTS.
That car was.
How much power was that thing making? That was a
About
daily
800
street car.
horsepower.
That was a daily street car.
That was a David Street
No,
car.
it's dynoed at 8.
Dyno.
Yeah.
Not maxed
Uh,
out, just
Let me
dyno.
give you an example of this car, because this got cheats, okay? I'm telling you right now, this got
Real
cheats, all
bad.
right? We went to San Antonio Raceway about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. We were done with the night, we'd had our time, our fun. I took the 2011 V out there,
Mhm.
and the 70 Monte Carlo, we took it out there. And he and I haven't had a good race in a long
Yeah, lined up.
time.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, Chris, let's make a pass. You drive the Monte Carlo, I'll drive the V. Well, yeah, that sounds like fun. So we line up next to each other. We get in there, we're pre-staged in the stage, and this son got a red lip. Okay? I'm talking, he didn't just red light, he red lit by a full bulb or two. You know, this guy's gone. And because he red lit so bad, I'm sitting there going, what? So I cut like a 118 or 2 seconds. I'm like, what? Now this guy's 4 cars out on me here already, or 3 cars out on me. I'm like, what in that? So I put my foot to the radiator on that video, okay? And he says, I'm never gonna catch that big block. I'm never gonna catch that big. And then that came in on the other. That car ran 1168 at 128 miles an hour. It trapped.
Street tires.
And street tires.
God,
It was trapped.
Oh, he came around me like
I went past
you
him. I beat him at the finish line by about a half a car, but I went around him like he
128, that's
was
pretty good mile an
sitting.
hour.
On street tires.
1168.
Yeah.
So that means I was spinning pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, he's winning.
Yeah. 128, that's about a good high 10. I mean,
That is,
look at mile per
yeah,
hour,
yeah.
whatever.
And that was that car?
That
Or
was
was
a
that
2011 CTSV.
Wow.
That's old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wicked car.
I remember you passed by the house one day and I'm like, damn, that shit is crazy.
That car got me in more trouble.
Did it?
I went left the parking lot, went to Waterburger there in Pflugerville, off of 685.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 in the morning. It was me. I got my Route 44 sweet tea there
Oh,
from
man,
there.
you've been
Because they had good sweet tea there.
Yeah.
You know, I love the crunchy ice.
That's why I said bring take
So I got to that one light right there, just right outside of
Yeah.
Stone Hill there,
Late,
and it was
is it?
red. It was late. Me, it was red, and a car pulls up behind me, and I didn't pay attention to it. So I opened up the remote cap on this thing. Light turned green, and boom, I'm gone. I never really got into it hard, but I got into it pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize it was a Pflugerville cop.
Oh.
Right? So he pulls me over right there at Pflugerville Parkway. We get out, and he walks up and says, son,
Yeah.
I just got to know what's going on here. I said, well, sir, to be quite honest with you, I had a scratch and I had to itch it.
There you go.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
He let you go?
He let me go. No, just good morning. He said, hey,
Yeah.
you know, it's just me and you.
Nobody
He
on
said,
the road?
Nobody
Yeah.
on the road but us. He
Yeah.
said, so would you mind just, I said, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's out of my system
I
now.
itched it, I'm good.
I itched it, I'm good.
It's great.
Hey, you don't hear a funny story?
Oh, man, I love hearing this story.
That wreck that I did out
Yeah.
on 71 that Sally was talking about. Brian Gardner showed up. Remember Brian Gardner hung out with Zach and all them? Had the big glasses, drove that Firebird?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He's a Travis County deputy.
There's a lot of guys that
But-
became part of the, and they, you.
But I'm sitting there working this wreck and Brian yells across and he's with all his deputies.
Mhm.
And he goes, Kerley. I'm like, what? Where was that place we used to race
Oh,
before?
shit.
And I looked down and said, no, English.
Nah.
and then I'll just go back doing what I'm doing. He started laughing. He goes, no, seriously. I said, has the statute of limitations run out yet?
And I'm not gonna tell a damn
Yeah,
story.
look, it's not gonna hold it against me, sorry.
But all of them were laughing.
Well, yeah, it's joking, if they're laughing, you should just, hey, race here, there.
He's asked me where we ran behind town. And I said, her guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be times when we had to tell everybody, hey, we're gonna go run
yeah.
a Decker, and then one person drives that way and gets the whole herd going down Mopec, and then we drive off slowly
Well,
towards,
Well,
crossing
one night
across.
we got everybody, we said, yeah, we're going to her guys.
Mhm.
So everybody went to her guys. We went to 812.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's when my wife ran Zach in the morning call against the Challenger.
Oh,
or the
yeah.
Charger.
Oh.
Yeah, he put it on.
Yeah, he said he got the decoy spot there, but.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Cool,
well, sometimes you had to do that. Just keep it.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are
Riff raff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about earlier, that there's a certain crowd of people that you're like, okay, they know the unwritten law or whatever that, these other guys, we don't know you should do that, so
Mhm.
you just fill them out.
Yeah.
So.
And we had seen a few of those show up some nights after, you have to take them aside and read them right at.
Yeah.
Okay, look, buddy, we don't have any of that.
Yeah. You gotta set them straight, you gotta set them
Yeah.
straight. so.
You can't tell me what to do. I said, no, I can't, but all the rest of these 20 people behind me can.
Exactly.
just walk you out of here.
Well,
That's
well,
right.
many times that I go out there from Monte Carlo and I got my 2 baby girls in the back seat, but I'm gonna make a pass.
Right.
So we go put them in Zach's car or
Yeah.
somebody's car, and I go make a pass.
Yeah.
And we tell them, hey, there are kids here.
Right.
They
Yeah, you gotta be
probably
careful.
shouldn't be here, but they are here.
Well,
Well, it happens.
daycare is daycare.
I would say, if they like it, they like
Safety
it.
is safety.
No, that's right. So if it happens, it happens. Like
But
the
hey,
mom
we're,
said,
we are, you know, I'll admit, we were very safe back then.
Oh, yeah.
Because we did not want this to get ruined, and so. If-
Well, we really want nobody here.
Right, and if we had some squirrels coming up, that definitely would upset me. You know, there was times where, you know, I was really mad just because some dirt got kicked on my car, and that was a big no-no for me, and,
Well, mine wasn't the prettiest part out there, and actually, some guy actually told me one time it's a POS. I said, you know the difference between this POS and that POS? He goes, what's that? And I said, that's mine.
and not the OS.
yeah.
Hey, it's respect, man. Everybody's got, don't come lean up on my car, don't put sit butt on it. I mean, that's,
That's those rules for
yeah, that's the unwritten rules. You know that, you should know that.
Well,
Real quick, that's all right. I mean, that's just-
but Paul knew my wife back then.
She,
Yeah. She told you something,
she'll kick your ass.
yeah.
She'll kick your ass, and, you know, just,
But then again, she also had 20 guys behind her, like Warren and,
yeah, oh, yeah, just,
I mean, yeah.
So that's, I mean, again, it just all comes down to unwritten rule. People should know better. You shouldn't have to, and that's the guys you wanna not disassociate, but you know, you make sure that they
Well,
do and act accordingly, basically.
right.
You
But
try to
then,
break the
yeah,
rules.
Yeah.
about a month later, the same guy had a totally different aspect of life. He would actually walk around and respect other people's property.
yeah, once you
Yeah, that's all it takes. Should only take one time. You shouldn't have to, that one you gotta repeat everything. Oh, I told you that. I figured that's like, okay, that's when you gotta.
Just go away.
Yeah, just go the other direction.
Find your own craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. I mean, once you enter the family, it's respect, and then you've got the ones who,
Hey, you remember them scrolls that came down from Leander that time? They had the Camaro with the everything painted underneath too, white with no hood, and it was like an orange Camaro.
no, oh, no,
Second gen.
damn, no, really,
Oh,
yeah.
And then, we left the 6 in Guadalupe, went out to Decker, and the cop shows up. And this old boy in this Camaro takes off hauling ass, and, you know us, we just walk over Monte Carlo, sit down and
Yeah.
do it up and let everybody do their thing, and we go the opposite direction.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah, and then that kid, that squirrel took off, and, that deputy showed up, he goes, that kid took off, he goes, damn, here we go again. I looked at him, I said, what do you mean again? He goes, I pulled him over 3 times on the way out here.
Ah, man. We had, I told it, the other show, one of the other podcasts, that we went out to Callahan's, man, and these kids, man, we couldn't, somehow, they followed us, they did catch on, but they came into the wrong side of Callahan's, instead of coming to the back, they came into the other side, and, they started racing towards us, and, I think it was Al and them, they had already gone, they were gonna start, they had a huge crack back, and I see these lights coming, and I said, these idiots are gonna freaking wreck, you know, and so, I don't know if you guys were there yet, we were one of the first ones, so we start running towards that Volkswagen, and, so we're running with the flashlight, you know, like, get the hell off, and, you know, it's a Volkswagen, how fast can they go, you know, 20 miles an hour, just taking off. The guy panics, guy flies off the road, clears the fence, and rolls in that field, man. All his junk, high school junk, just flies out the window. He comes out, he's crying, and the other guy comes out and he's walking. It literally looks like American Graffiti, where how it comes out, you know. And we're like, man, you all right? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, did you get hurt? He goes, no, but I lost all my stuff because it's spread out all over. And so we're like, well, walk back with us, man. Get your car tomorrow. Leave it there because you ain't gonna get it out. It's stuck. And the race just went on. But that's what happens when you don't know the clip. You don't know what you're doing. Somebody's gonna stop you and get you the hell out of there. Today, you've got morons that want to go and do burnout and screw you up intentionally, and so that's some of the stuff that these guys deal with today. It's
Well,
not so much somebody that wants to go and go see something and just not know how to get there.
Well, that's
Today,
another
it's
thing
something-
that I've noticed that's been going on, is everybody's doing these burnout contests.
Yeah. Well, there was one recently.
It's that takeover stuff where they do that, they just do donuts basically, in intersections or whatever.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I got better things to do with my money than going out and buying a set of $1,200 tires for a week.
Yeah, don't make sense, but, you
Well,
know.
they, one, Josh here.
There was one that got happened in Austin,
He got hit, there's a guy got hit. He was, I saw the one, and then he goes, no, there's another one going around. The dude gets hit, and he shows it to me, and moron is with the freaking camera, phone.
every takeover I've seen, somebody gets ran
Oh, he got
over,
popped
laid
and the dude
over,
goes
popped over and
complete
flipped or
360
something.
all over the place. There's
Yeah,
people
yeah,
standing in the middle, they
that's
light
the kind of crowd
gasoline. They're standing in a ring of fire and the car's doing donuts around them.
Well, around the telephone pole, I don't know how they do
I
it.
don't know, but that's the thing that's giving everybody a bad name, but,
But see, I was actually on the news about.
Oh, yeah, I remember they interviewed you,
They
yeah.
interviewed me because we were doing the round rock
Street
meets.
racer, you.
And every time we turned around, somebody was doing something.
Well, that's
So
what
we went-
killed, that's what killed Whataburger and all these other
Oh,
meats,
yeah.
that somebody, you
Yeah.
know, doing.
Well, we went over there because that meat got messed up, so we went over here off of, Palmer Lane.
Yeah,
A
that's
little
the Home
place.
Depot there.
No, it's back in this neighborhood back there off
Oh,
Copper Hill,
okay,
whatever that is
okay.
back over there. Well, as the guys are leaving the parking lot, each and every one of those Mustang guys had to see if they couldn't just be the louder guy.
Yeah,
So here we are at 9 o'clock at night, leaving in a residential, so the lady called in for the residents, told the cops that we were selling drugs in that parking lot.
That's all it's-
And that we were a bunch of hoodlums and all this other stuff, so
Yeah, that's all it is.
the girl that put on the meet at the time said, hey, you know, news channel, we'd like to tell our version of it. So the news channel came out to the parking lot and I happened to be there and they interviewed me and said, yeah, it's funny because these kids come out here and start doing this stuff. And I've been kicked out of every parking lot in Austin. And that's what ended up on the news, is that we've been kicked out of every parking
I
lot.
don't know you, criminal.
Yeah, they cut
I
it.
don't know you.
Yeah, that's all they got.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
talk to
yeah.
them. So, you don't talk to them.
Well, we know the truth, but like I said, it's happened everywhere, like every meat that's been brought up since
Yeah.
the nineties, that's what happens, we get killed somehow, one way or another, but, you know, we always find a way, right?
Yeah.
We're always gonna find a way, like the Bellas,
We
I mean,
have strict rules.
that's still going strong.
Today it's under
strict
disguise
rules,
as pure car show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
period,
And it really does stay pure car show.
Right,
yeah, and that's
Then we
good,
go eat.
right.
yeah, you gotta eat afterwards.
Yeah, good.
Right. So
That's good.
that's a good car show.
There's Dan's right there.
Dan's,
Dan's, we hit up
Yeah.
Dan's. What are all the restaurants we normally go to?
I know, yeah, that's.
Logan's, Dan's, Chili's.
If people don't know Dan's
You
Burgers,
guys wanna
man,
come
Dan's
hang
Burgers,
out?
man, that's.
Bring up the car count.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trust me, we're gonna go to a restaurant right after 10
Sit
o'clock.
down, eat.
And,
No, earlier than that.
or earlier, I was getting earlier. Oh,
No,
every year it
it's
gets earlier.
winter.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
winter,
winter,
yeah.
yeah.
Me and Bryan
Days
ain't
are
gonna
shorter.
do anything under 7.
The days are shorter now, man.
I might have to join your
I am
club.
allergic to anything below 7.
I asked you.
start breaking out chills.
So,
Nose starts
December,
running.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
done.
December 17th, there's that top end race. I asked you,
Yeah.
because you got cars ready to run. And, but you're just not gonna do it because you just
It's
like,
too cold.
it sucks, cold.
It's too
winter."
cold.
Yeah,
I can't do cold.
it's hit or miss on that
Yeah,
17th.
and you're
It can
right.
be- It can be hot, it can be
Right.
30.
Yeah.
No,
What?
no, if that
Well, I tell
day
you what,
to be like today.
Yeah,
if I'm off, I'll be there,
yeah.
but I won't have a
Well,
Go
car. I have my
straight
Harley Davidson pickup.
you don't happen to have a mini bike, do you? You have a mini bike? Do you still have a mini bike?
No, but I got a side by side.
Okay, well, I don't know. I
But
don't know what the rules are.
Me and you getting in there and.
Oh, I don't know, that's
Oh.
just a mini bike, I don't know what that is.
Josh is taking one. Hopefully we can get it all wrapped up by that day.
Oh, it'll be.
There's a mini bike race.
Oh,
For mini
mini
bikes.
bike race. Oh,
You just have to be faster than the guy that says, come on and race me and try and beat me. That's all you gotta do, but it has to be, you know, a little mini bike. So, he, you know, he's got that one that he built, you know, about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And, so when he's gonna try and have some fun, that's all,
And it's all for fun, and I really, really appreciate the invite. Let's see what the weather's like. If the
Hey.
weather's okay that day,
And the
I'm
hamburgers are good if the stand is
Yeah,
open.
that's nice, because it's on a Saturday, so it should be open.
December 17th, Sunday? Oh, it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday,
That's a
17th is Saturday,
So,
so
no,
if
yeah.
it's on a Saturday, that stand will be open.
Yeah, and you'll see why they put it on the top end. You'll
fun.
understand, you'll understand why they're doing it on the
No,
top end.
I've actually got.
You go on there, so you figure it out.
Cool
What's
deal,
going on.
man. Well, I dig it, like I said, I think we're gonna go ahead and, we're about 2 hours in, so
Nice.
we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, so, but guys, I wanna say appreciate it. It was a lot of good information, like I said, we tell everybody, there may be a time we may ask you to come back, this is, we could probably talk forever.
Yeah, you just got a peek.
Yeah, that was a little, exactly, that was a glimpse of when you guys got started, the street scene, that was kind of the main focus of this.
Street scene was awesome.
Yeah.
In the 80s. It was just
Oh,
awesome.
it was.
Yeah, that was the main premise.
Yeah, and I was like 12, 13 years old out running around.
Yeah.
and we hear that all the time.
Yeah, back then I was a little more quiet because you guys were the guys I didn't want to screw shit up with. But in the '90s, I appreciate that you guys opened the doors to us younger dudes, the bullshit. I mean,
The
we're
door's always
not
open,
much
man.
younger, but
The door's always open for anybody that wants to do any kind of racing for me. I'll help anybody out. I will not become your mechanic, but I will help anybody out.
That's all you can ask for.
Or we still steer you in the right direction.
doing things the right way.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it, man. I like it. Like I said, I appreciate you guys coming out. Anytime, nice meeting you. I don't think I actually met y'all before, but I knew of y'all, I've seen y'all's cars before. But again, appreciate it. So the guys, be on the lookout for this episode. Be out here in a couple weeks. So and again, Bryan, Chris. Right?
Yes, sir.
We released an episode of
Just
mine.
remember, he's the ugly one.
Y'all confused me there for a minute. I always thought you were the younger one.
It sounds like he's a nice brother too. Ready to, kind of.
Oh, they're nice brothers, all right.
Yeah, so.
We
No,
get
but-
along very well.
No, but we have fun.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you guys coming out, and again, you guys be safe coming home. But we're gonna wrap it up, guys, for this evening.
Thanks for the
you guys-
invite.
Awesome. We're gonna wrap it up, guys. Y'all say peace.
Thank you, brothers.
All right, guys. Wrap it up.